All right, welcome. This is the Sherborn Select Board meeting of Wednesday, August 12th. It is 6:33 p.m. Calling the meeting to order. In presence, we have all Select Board members. To my left, Dan Sickle, Marion Neutra, Jeff Waldron, Paul DeRensis, and myself, Stephen Tsai. Can we begin by having the Assistant Town Administrator read the executive session agenda,
Good evening.
please?
We have 4 items tonight. Item number 1 is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. Richard Thompson versus the Town of Sherborn et al., Middlesex Superior Court, Civil Action 2181, CV 01004. Item 2 is pursuant to General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy session to prepare for contract negotiations with a third party. The chair, having determined that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board regarding wind waste. Item number 3 is pursuant to General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A7, to comply with the act under the authority of General Law, Chapter 38, Section 22, to review the 22 Select Board draft executive session minutes in Suffolk Construction versus DCAM 4.9 Mass 4.4, 2007. Item 4 is strategy session to prepare for contract negotiations with non-bargaining unit employee pursuant to General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A2 for the fire chief.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to the executive session agenda? Can I get a vote relative to the executive session agenda, or a motion rather?
Move approval as read.
Correct.
Okay. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. As the chair, I do declare that an executive session is necessary for the purposes outlined, and I move that we enter into executive session.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. We'll take a roll call vote. Dan?
Aye.
Marion?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Paul?
I had a question about one item,
Okay.
so I'll abstain. Or I asked the question.
Yeah, you can ask the question.
Just wanted, Kirsty, do you think item 2 is complies with the open meeting law?
What's the agenda said exactly on that item?
To conduct strategy sessions to prepare for contract negotiations with a third party.
Third party into what?
Wind waste.
One waste.
The wheel operator has 7 acre.
Generally, exemption 2 under the open meeting law is when you're talking about contracts with bargaining and non-bargaining employees. So I see where you're getting at, Paul. If it were phrased more to obtain legal advice about that, that would be different, but that's not how the agenda is written. So it probably would, and we haven't given legal advice on such contract, I don't think. No. So, Paul, you raise a good point. It might be, Heather, unless you think there's another way we can get around this, I think it might have to be tabled to the next meeting, and then we could get a memo, because there is no pure exemption about negotiations with a third party. But we could give you legal advice on the contract, and you can go in under that exemption. But
It's fine. There's nothing for anything. Or an update.
Okay. So, I guess, can I'll make a motion to reconsider the executive session agenda.
All right, second that motion.
All right, I'll take a roll call vote on that. Dan?
Aye.
Marion?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am aye as well. So now I am moving that we strike item 2 from the executive session agenda.
Do you are you considering moving it to the open session or not?
I think we're just going to push it to another meeting.
Bring it back in another meeting.
Yeah.
All right. All right, I'll make the motion to defer item 2 on contract negotiations with wind waste to subsequent meeting.
A second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor. Dan?
Aye.
Marion? Jeff?
All right.
Paul? And I'm aye as well. All right, so now I will make another motion to enter into executive session.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Dan?
Aye.
Marion?
Aye.
Jeff?
All right.
Paul?
Aye.
And I'm aye as well. All right. We're now in executive. All right, welcome back to the open session of the select board meeting, Wednesday, August 12th. It is currently 7:20 p.m. If I could have the assistant town administrator read the open session agenda, please.
Good evening. After I read the agenda, the select board can vote to amend or approve the agenda. I have a public service announcement tonight by Jeff Wall. Items may be taken out of order and topics not anticipated 48 hours in advance may be added. We have 17 items on our agenda. Consideration of town council letter of engagement and special council letter of engagement. Jeremy will discuss that. Consideration of request for the use of surplus equipment account, fire department, Zach Watt, fire chief. Conservation Commission budget, Mike Lester and Courtney Eck, co-chairs of the Conservation Commission. Consideration of a relocation of easement regarding Washington and Greenwood Streets. Consideration of request from the Sherborn Yacht Club to offer farm pond passes to Dover residents who sign up for youth instructional sailing programs. Alexis Madison will be here tonight for that. Consideration of appointments to the Recycling Committee. Robert Spence returned to expire June 15th, 2029. That is a reappointment. And we have 2 new people applying for the other vacancy, which is Vicki Rellis and Joyce Aspel. A discussion and consideration of select board representation on the Land Acquisition Committee. Consideration of appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals, John Hammond, who's the current associate member, and Addie Mae Weiss, who's a new appointment. Consideration of appointment to the Town Forest Committee, Sarah Van Larkin, for a term to expire on June 15th, 2029. He is a reappointment. Consideration of signing the September 1st, 2026 state primary election warrant. John Doyle, the town clerk, will be here for that one. An Economic and Community Development Advisory Group, Heidi Doyle, the town planner, will discuss that with the board. Continued discussion of the transfer station, operating procedures and a draft policy. Review and consideration of draft select board goals. Consideration of draft chapter land procedures. Jeremy will discuss that. And item 15 is the consent agenda, payroll warrant, the draft minutes of June 11th. 3 one-day liquor license, Pauline Brown's for August 15th at the 1858 house. Another one from Dan Callan for September 26th at Silverwood Farms. And Margaret Ann Duran from the Native Community Organic Farm fundraiser for September 19th at Silverwood Farms. Item number 16 is the select board reports, and item number 17 is the TA updates.
All right, thank you. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Oh, I move approval of the agenda for open session as read by the assistant town administrator.
And I second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor? All right, thank you. So first, Jeff, you had a public service announcement?
Yeah, I'm just going to make a quick announcement. People may know already, but every year we do what's called the Admiral Fun Below race. I'm one of the co-organizers. Somehow I inherited that. And so it's a perimeter swim of Farm Pond. And we've had between 50 and 80 racers enter in it. A lot of people younger than me, but I come in last every year. But anyway, it's about a little under 2-mile swim. It's going to be on August 29th. And you can register online, and it's on the website of admiral.funbelow@gmail.com is the contact information. And I posted these signs around the pond. So anybody that wants to swim, come swim with us. And they have boats. It's fairly safe because they have boats that track the swimmers, and it's well organized. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, item number 1, consideration of town council letter of engagement and special council letter of engagement. Jeremy?
Yeah, so in your packet, there are 2 engagement letters. One to transition town council from Chris to Heather White, who would be working with Harrington and Heath. The other letter of engagement would be to pertain Chris for special counsel. regarding one of your cases that's currently in litigation.
All right, thank you. And so just for anybody who doesn't know, Heather White has been our primary town council for the past several years. And just because Chris Petrini is sort of shifting focus in his career to more sort of special litigation issues rather than municipal counsel. Heather is leaving Petrini and Associates and joining Harrington Heap. And I should speak for myself, have been very pleased with Heather's work as our town council for the past several years. I've worked with her both as the chair of the advisory committee and now, as the chair of the select board. And I believe that she has given really excellent counsel on a broad range of topics important to the town. So I'm very pleased that she has chosen to stay within the municipal council game, and that we have an opportunity to keep her on. With regards to the special counsel letter of engagement, again, that was sort of at my request that Chris offer us his services to stay on as being the sort of lead counsel with regards to the litigation issue that we've been in the middle of, just because Chris has been on top of that for, again, many years now. So he has a lot of knowledge there and has been guiding us this whole time. I do believe that if we were to decide not to retain Chris as special counsel and have Heather take over that case, that she would also do a fine job. I think there's just a continuity thing that I think is beneficial in these types of things. So that's why I asked Chris if he would stay on as our special counsel. But I open it up to the rest of the board for your comments and thoughts.
Oh, I'm in favor of both. I mean, my thinking is we can use their services, we need them or not. But I think we're good having the contracts in place so that, there could be competing, someone could be on holiday or one of the other responsibilities could be pressing. So I think it gives us more flexibility to have both contracts in place, and they have different levels of expertise. So I support both engagement, council engagement letters.
Thank you, Maren.
Yeah, I mirror what Jeff just said. I wonder if Heather could give us a feeling for Harrington Heap. We're not familiar with that firm. And I personally would like to know, first of all, I'm very glad you're staying on, Heather. We're very happy with that. Harrington Heap is a law firm with broader practice, I would suppose, not just municipal. And so I'm wondering, how deep is their bench on municipal practice and the sort of thing we would want to know if we needed backup or you needed backup?
Thank you. May I answer from here, or should I come up?
Either way is fine.
Okay. Well, first, I just want to say it would be my honor to stay on and continue to provide town council services for you. So Harrington Heap has 14, well, I'll make 14. They have 13 attorneys and I'll be the 14th. They were formerly Miaras in Harrington. So they are actually familiar with Sherborn. They were formerly town council here. They changed the name when Ray Miaras retired. So Tom Harrington is still one of the partners there, along with several other people. And they are primarily, if not exclusively, a municipal law firm, and they have a number of attorneys with great expertise that would serve Sherborn very well, including in environmental and public works and land use and labor and all of the general municipal areas that fall to our plate can be quite a broad range, and they represent a number of municipalities, so they are experienced with all of the things that tend to come our way.
Yeah.
I just want to echo what others have said. Heather, I also, as from my time on advisory and on the select board, have been very happy with the work that you've done for the town. And very enthusiastic and pleased that, you're willing to continue. And to echo what Jeff said, also thinking Chris, with his deep background in the Thompson case, that keeping Chris engaged on that would be very valuable for the town.
Thanks. Paul?
So I echo the comments of my colleagues. Think Chris is great. Think Heather is great. But I have two little problems. The first problem is that Harrington Heap has a history this time. And there have been prior boards in the past that had more lawyers than this board has on it. And there were issues that came up. And there's a reason why they were no longer town council in Sherborn. And it's a little bit uncomfortable to go back to something that we felt and just try and phrase that differently. I have no problem with Heather continuing to work for the town. Let's put it that way. I have a problem with kind of digging up something that was in the past and having that be the future. Usually when there's a change in council, you have opportunities to allow other people to submit proposals and quotes so that you see what's out there and whether the rates are fair, competitive, and all that stuff. I understand why, I guess, the decision has been made not to do that. But my problem is with Harrington and Heap. And I mean, I could give you all details, but it doesn't, it's not appropriate. The other issue is I think Chris is great. I'm happy to have him stay on. I just have a problem with the rate that you have. I think it's way too high, you know. Wondering if you would be amenable to a more traditional rate.
Happy to talk to that, Paul. And the issue with respect to that is my decision to make this transition to more special counsel work is something that I've been aiming towards for a few years, and I have had a good track record of representing it. I think at this point it's about 45 cities and towns on special counsel matters, and all of them are either at the same rate or higher rate than what I quoted you. So you folks, and the issue is it would cause difficulty with my client base to offer you folks a substantially different rate in this new venue when I have plenty of other work to do. So I really do, for business relations and for consistency purposes, need to keep that rate. I think if you see, you know, the good news is if Heather is appointed, she'll be doing a lot of work at the lower rate. Heather and I work great together, so the marginal rate for that case will actually be less. But because of business reasons, I am not prepared to. This is a significant reason why I'm making the change, and I just can't do it for other clients where they have routinely paid rates well over 400 an hour, and that's not what I'm charging in this particular case. So I have to stick with that rate. But thank you for asking. So, okay.
Chris, is the 5% escalation typical for these contracts?
That's what I include. If you wanted, I could consider, because this case might be, you know, having that switch to say something to the effect of to be discussed annually or something like that. I don't mind switching that point. It's not a big issue, Dan, on that one.
I mean, and the case isn't, we hope it isn't going to go on forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To me, part of the thought would be that if a year from now it's still going on, that at that point we might transition from you to just fully having Heather handle the case.
Sure.
Because especially if both of you are working on it jointly, she will be pretty up to speed on how everything is going and should be able to see it through to the end. So I'm less concerned. I think that if we had something that looked like it was going to be a 2-3 year thing, that I'd be a little bit more concerned about the 5% annual increase. But this better not be still going on a year from now.
Yeah, and also it does say it reserves the right to do it. It's not necessarily automatic. And some years they don't do it at all. I think it doesn't say it's an automatic. I have to look at the exact language. They don't have it right in front of me, but that would not be. It doesn't necessarily have to be automatic.
Great, and I hear what Paul is saying about the town's history with the firm, but again, in my part of this is my lack of experience with whatever happened in the town's first go around with the firm. But to me, this is more about retaining Heather White as our primary counsel, and I would imagine as the past several years have gone, essentially most matters I would assume are going to be handled by you, unless for some reason you either had to recuse yourself or were simply unavailable for something. Because I do feel like for the past 3-4 years, the majority of all of our town council issues have been handled by you, and I would imagine that that's how it would continue with Harrington Heat.
Yes, and I would say I will be your primary point of contact, and nothing about my practice or my dedication to the best interests of Sherborn will change based on my changing law firms. I'm happy to have conversations if there are any concerns about past matters or specific individuals that you want to make sure we address in the most appropriate manner going forward for Sherborn. But based on the team that they have in place now, I'm very excited to be joining them. They are an excellent group of attorneys. And like I said, I'm really excited to hopefully continue to carry on the work that Chris and I have been doing.
And just to echo what Steve said, for my part, I don't know the full history that Paul's referring to before my time being involved, but I'm confident and hopeful that you would be able to manage any issues that came up, around those kinds of concerns. I'm confident that you would handle that very appropriately.
All right.
So what, want me to make a motion?
Sure.
Make 2 motions, or do you want 2 separate motions or one?
We should probably do 2 separate motions, right? Because they're 2 different contracts.
A motion that we entered to a contract with Harrington and Heap for Heather's continued support for the town. And the second motion would be
I need to authorize myself to sign that.
authorizing you to sign it.
The way it's currently drafted. You need to vote to authorize.
Yeah, authorize the town administrator to sign the contract. Is the Petrini and Associates the same?
No, Petrini looks like it's me.
Okay, so then I would maybe make 2 separate motions. The first motion is to enter into an agreement with Harrington Heap for Heather's services and authorize Jeremy Marset to sign the contract.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
And the second motion is to enter into an agreement as written here with Petrini and Associates, which would be signed by the chair of the select board, Stephen Stock.
Okay, before I take that vote, just because Paul didn't vote aye, so I just want to see, are you voting opposed or are you abstaining?
Post.
Okay, so Diane, you have that? Okay.
The Heap one, 4-1.
4-1, yes.
Yep.
All right, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so the second motion is to enter an agreement as written here with Petrini Associates, and the agreement to be signed by the chair of the select board, Stephen Stock.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstains?
I'll abstain.
Okay,
I'll note just for the record that the 5% per year is automatic.
I don't have it right in front of me, but if that's the case, I'll evaluate it on the basis and consider if that's the case.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Heather and Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to continuing to work with you both.
Thank you.
Likewise, thank you.
Okay, next item, consideration of a request for the use of the surplus equipment account, fire department. Zach Ward, I saw you earlier. Yes, I see you on Zoom.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thanks for having me. So some time ago, we were really fortunate enough to be awarded a grant for over $28,000 to purchase and install what's called a vehicle exhaust removal system. So it's a pretty elaborate system that involves long hoses, if you will, hooking up to the exhaust tailpipes on all the trucks at Station 1. So when the trucks start and they run to go to a call or for training or wherever, the diesel exhaust isn't spewing into the building, which is really key for the health and safety of our firefighters because those diesel exhaust fumes are actual carcinogens. So we get this system through FEMA and we got it installed, and we're just requesting that the board approve us to use some of our surplus equipment funds to cover the 5% match, which is typically what we use those funds for matching funds for grants. We're requesting $1,352.39 from that fund, and we currently have around $11,000 in that account.
All right, thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
All
Second.
right, moved and seconded. All in favor? All right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Back to
Chief.
training now.
Chief, before you go, could you I was going to give an announcement during my updates, but since you're here, could you relay to the board your plans for the 25th anniversary of September 11th?
Absolutely. I'd be really happy to. Thank you for bringing that up. So the fire department is going to be hosting a remembrance ceremony on September 11th in the early evening at Fire Station 1. We actually have a small monument there, if you will, outside in front of the flagpole in honor of the 343 firefighters that were killed on that particular day in that event. It's going to be open to the public. We would love for the board to attend and participate. We might be looking for a speaker from the select board, if that's okay. And more to come on that. We're likely going to have light refreshments and the like. And again, it's going to be open to the public. And we'd certainly love to have participation from the town and the board. So,
Great,
Thank
you,
you.
Zach. All right, next up, item 3, Conservation Commission budget. Michael Lesser, who I believe is here, and Courtney, I don't think is here. And as Courtney Eck is my wife, I generally recuse myself from anything that has to do with the Concom. So, Dan, can you take over this agenda item for me?
Yes.
Sorry for just dropping that on you right now.
Michael, do you want to walk us through this? I think it's a pretty routine item. Do you want to walk us through this, Michael?
Sure. Hold on, let me get my thing here. I didn't expect to be available. I just got out of another meeting early. Essentially, in the budget that was approved for at town meeting, we to cushion the significant cost increases we had for staff to get appropriate staffing. We were going to use what's called the state filing fee fund. That is money that the town has to put aside separately. It's a share of the fees that an applicant for the conservation permits would have to, that goes to the town itself, separate from our own fees that we charge under our bylaw. And that's been accumulating for quite a while, and it's significant. And so it seems appropriate to use some of that to basically it allows us to keep our budget within the sort of level funded levels in terms of the town's operating budget over time. So what was approved by the town was that of the 35 hours that our agent Joyce Hastings works, that 3 of those hours would be paid out of the state filing fee fund, which can only be used for wetland protection issues, and use of it needs approval by the select board. So we're requesting that the select board approve the spending of the fund to cover the 3 hours on a weekly basis for our agent for the fiscal year 27.
And Michael, what's the dollar amount?
Annually,
Chairman.
annually, that would be $7,938.
Great.
I'm a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so moving to authorize $7,938 to come from the state filing fee to cover the additional hours for the conservation agent.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well phrased.
Just, Steve put me in charge, so, I'm trying to get this all together here.
Paraphrase motion.
Excellent. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? You're abstaining. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Michael. I think we're all set.
Okay, great. Okay, have a good night.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Dan. All right, next we have consideration of relocation of easement of Washington and Greenwood Streets.
So last time I got asked for a legal opinion and there's no legal opinion in my packet.
I think we got it. though.
Yeah, I think it was emailed around
I
to,
think we received a legal opinion.
yeah,
A separate email?
yeah, it was emailed around to the entire select board.
The full, I can give a brief summary if
Yeah.
you'd like, but the full opinion was sent to you previously, but it's the opinion of town council that the relocation of this existing easement does not trigger Article 97 requirements. And in fact, the relocated easements are larger in area than the existing easements and would be serving the same purpose. So it was their opinion that it does not trigger Article 97. And as far as town meeting, approval from town meeting, there's a statute that allows the Conservation Commission for conservation purposes to accept easements. And council believed that MGL covered and did not require then the approval of town meeting for the relocation of these easements.
Has the Conservation Commission reviewed this? And
They have reviewed and actually voted, Michael has his hand up, but they did vote to accept these easements. They will need to vote again as there was an editorial typo that one of the select board members found, but yes, they are in agreement, but Michael can certainly speak to that.
Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
Michael Lesser, I guess I should have announced myself before. Conservation Commission, 54 Forest Street. Yes, this is a good move for the town because of the project that's being developed. So this will put the trail in a better position for dealing with the septic system issues in terms of what had to be put there. And so it's for the plus of the town and for the use of that trail. So we all voted unanimously for this change.
Thank you.
And what's needed from the select board is just concurrence with that?
Yeah, you need to vote and you'd also sign the easement.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? No. Entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the relocation of the easement at the intersection on Washington and Greenwood Streets.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, next, consideration of a request from the
Thanks,
Sherborn.
Bob.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, sorry, Bob, I didn't see you there.
No problem.
All right, item number 5, consideration of a request from the Sherborn Yacht Club to offer farm pond passes to Dover residents who sign up for youth instructional sailing programs. Alexis Madison? Is Alexis here?
She was there earlier. I saw her. I don't see her now.
If not, does one of you have the sort of summary of
Jeannie, could you help with, if this came in through you, could
I
you
am
help?
here. I think in the past we've offered passes for the price that the residents pay, but it's just been for 2 weeks of the instructional program for the 2 weeks that the kids are learning how to sail. And Alexis would like to be able to offer the full non-resident sticker for the season, which is $300. So in other words, if they sign up for sailing, the parents can come and they can get a non-resident sticker. They can pay the $300 and they can access the pond all summer. And it's kind of fun for the kids because they can go down, they can sail anytime, they can bring their parents. When it's limited to the 2 weeks that they actually are just in the sailing lessons, that's all they really have. So I think she was asking for 20 additional. She probably won't sell that many because a lot of our non-resident lottery winners are in the sailing program also.
Jeannie, is this similar to what's offered for other programs?
If you are on the swim team, the Dover Snappers, which is Dover and Sherborn, if you're on the swim team for more than 1 year, you can also get a full pass for $300. Or you can just pay the $90 and get a pass for swim team hours only, which is practice and meets.
Oh,
So who gets the $300? This is what I'm confused
The
with.
town does.
So when you
It's
say
used-
pay them the $300, the yacht club doesn't keep the $300.
No, the yacht club does not keep the $300. The $300 will go to the Farm Pond Revolving Fund because that is used for work down at the pond to pay the lifeguards, the gate guards, the waterfront director, maintenance at the pond, at the bathhouse, etc.
Thank you.
Right now, they only get it for two weeks of the program they're in. This would offer it to them for the whole summer. That's the difference, but it's still a non-resident rate. I mean, we benefit. And I swim there all the time, and so those kids are there back and forth all the time. So we do it for snappers. You know, in addition to the week, they just finished snappers, I think, last Friday night. So
Right.
it's a really good service that we offer to the.
And does the Farm Pond Committee endorse this?
The Farm Pond Committee really doesn't say, they really don't have a say in something like this. It's more, they run the water quality part of it and keeping the water quality. That's what we focus on with boating and water sampling and geese and everything else. This is the actual running of this is running of the beach and just whether or not you want to offer this to Dover residents.
Sean, you have your hand up.
Sean?
He might have been up from before.
Can you explain how this doesn't allow them access to the transfer station, or does it?
No, they only get a non-resident Farm Pond sticker.
It looks just like a transfer station sticker, doesn't it?
It's a different color and it says non-resident on there.
in your packets, like board members, there are pictures of what
Right, they're examples.
on access stickers look like. They are somewhat different than the transportation.
We can
Okay.
change.
I think the packet's black and white online, but thanks.
Here, I'll text it to you.
Yeah, just to pick up on Sean's point, it will be important to make sure that folks at the transfer station, know what to look for so that these don't become, inadvertently transfer station stickers. Jeannie, question. If 20 more families join in, any concerns about capacity at Farm Pond at peak times?
No. I mean, the only time that it's crowded is during swim meets. We have the extra parking behind the bathhouse. So unless it's a big swim meet like Needham or Newton, we really have plenty of parking. And I've been down there a lot in the afternoon, and if it's not a swim meet, the place is pretty empty.
Yeah, I guess one other thought that this puts in mind for me is just looking through the material with the number of different kinds of passes, permits, and other things. Sometime later, when we're resolved on transfer station issues, it might be worth a look at Farm Pond sticker policy and just trying to make sure that what we're doing is consistent across different groups and that it's, serving the best interests of the town. But that's a thought for the future.
It's a little bit different because they're at Farm Pond they're paying to be part of the program.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's,
No, I'm not, that's not a comment that we shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
It's just we have a lot of different, we have a program here and a program here and passes and stickers and non-resident and resident. It just seems like it's over the years developed into a lot of different pieces and might be worth a look to just make sure that it's all a coherent system.
Marion and then Nora.
Small point of clarification. The list of towns that have people coming for sailing lessons it's about 8 different towns. Very few people from most, except Dover. You mentioned it was for Dover people, but this is for all of these, right?
Yes.
No, Alexis asked just for Dover residents, I believe, in her email. And I think that's what the agenda states.
I believe she's asking for up to 20, but for any of these potential.
For any of these towns.
It doesn't say.
Currently, they have 33 kids involved in the program in that breakout of town, members per town. But she's requesting up to 20 passes to be considered.
Okay, so our agenda item specifically says Farm Pond passes to Dover residents, but actually requests be for.
I'm sorry, no, it's what it says above in the letter. Strike what I said.
Oh,
it is for Dover residents.
Okay.
So it would only be for these 17, or maybe in the future, there may be as many as 20 from Dover.
Correct.
Okay.
And the other towns.
I guess, it could open up the door for future requests to consider these other
You would think.
students
Yeah.
from other towns.
Yeah.
The current request, I'm sorry, is for up to 20 for Dover students.
Only for Dover, because it actually doesn't say that in the letter. It says it in the warrant.
Well, yeah, actually, if you look at the very first sentence of the letter,
It
does say Dover residents.
I'd like to include, it seems unfair to the other towns not to include them, but we can do that at a subsequent time.
They can find their own pond.
I mean, you can limit the amount of stickers just to 20 for this season and see how it goes.
Yeah, but
Whether it's
right now it would be
Dover
20
residents or
only
other
Dover
towns.
residents though, Jeannie.
Yeah, I mean, I
Right.
guess we probably have the authority to just say we'll make it 20 passes, but 20 stickers, but they don't have to be restricted to
Yeah,
Dover
I
residents.
think that would be a fairer way to do it.
Yeah.
I think.
So it would be first come, first serve, or
Well, presumably the yacht club would figure that out.
You have to remember it's mid-August, some days, and they're
I
gonna be
mean,
back in school in 2 weeks.
This is more about next year than this year.
Well, it's not just Dover residents, it's also restricted by saying who purchases Sherborn Yacht Club
Yeah.
membership.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And
to fit 2 categories, Dover and members of the yacht club.
I think it shouldn't just be Dover. If there's other people are participating and paying to be in the same program, why should we single out Dover? I would recommend that we authorize it be to members of that program.
because this is a season pass, right?
She's offering a season pass. They get access for the duration of their program.
Right, that they get anyway.
Right.
Right.
She's offering them a pass for the rest of the time.
I mean, I presume
at a rate of $300 per family.
I presume the Dover thing is just, sort of like sister town.
Well,
so,
yes, but
kind of.
But
we do a lot of things with Dover, so
Yeah.
grant them
there's
this
very
privilege.
few
Yeah,
families in the other categories. I would.
Yeah.
I would-
Also, there was a rationale when we authorized Farm Pound passes for Metco students
Yes.
in the Dover Sherborn school system,
Yeah,
either
exactly.
town,
Exactly right.
because it's a social thing. I mean, the kids know each other.
Yeah.
It's part of their social life. So that makes sense for Dover. I'm a little hesitant to open it up to a lot of other towns because,
Oh, it's a total of what, 7 or 8 people.
yeah, right now it is.
I think for me, as a matter of, it's not a lot of people, but I think as a matter of principle, I'd be more comfortable with just Dover in the sense that, it feels like the passes and so on. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And
I don't agree with that, but
and
whatever.
Well, I think the point is that we have a joint school system with Dover residents and Sherborn residents.
right.
And so the life of the young people, at least the life of my children, were tied into
Yeah,
people in Dover.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that if my child was signing up, they couldn't have their Dover classmates be.
Well, they're swim mates.
Enjoying the
You're saying they can't have their swim team mates from Wellesley.
No, they can always have their swim team mates. That's allowed already.
And they can
No,
always get their
it's
2 week, then they can always get their 2 week pass for when they're taking sailing lessons. It's just a matter of whether their family gets a full summer pass,
season
full
pass.
summer pass, or a full summer pass.
Yeah, that's the issue for me.
Well, but they're paying for the full season.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, all right, then you make I may abstain. I'm not in agreement with limiting it just to Dover, so you make the motion that you guys want to make.
I mean, I'm actually kind of with Jeff on this. I'm like, just, you're limiting the sheer number, and then the group of people that are eligible is already limited by people who are signing up for the yacht club youth instructional sailing program. And so, I don't know, maybe part of it is, my son's best friend lives in Sharon, so it's like it's not like automatic that Sherborn kids only have friends in Dover and vice versa. It's like they could have friends in Wellesley and Medfield, and maybe they made friends through the yacht club. So to me, again, it's not like we're offering 200 passes. I'm okay with having it be for any non-Sherborn resident who signs up for youth instructional sailing programs. Again, limited to 2 to 20, and presumably the yacht club will be the ones that decide how they're going to distribute them. Should there be more than 20 who want them, but I mean, I don't know. I'm okay with that. It's kind of a trial period, and can always change our minds later.
One other point I would make, because I know both programs very well. What happens with the yacht club, kids who take the sailing program often then work for the yacht club. So if you see those kids that are on the pier signing out the boats, they're generally people that, if not this year or the year before, took sailing lessons. So even if they're from another town, they're actually at the pond longer duration than the sailing lesson because they're working for the yacht club. The yacht club is really almost all youth volunteers that rig the boats and get them back in. And I swim out there almost every night, and they're trying to get them back into the yacht club and with no wind to help them. So I just think we should give Alexis isn't on, but she's terrific, and we should give her the flexibility to do what makes sense for the program, in my view.
So just a comment here that when I talked about the relationship between Dover students and Sherborn students, I was in effect giving you a legal analysis as to whether or not this complied with the United States Constitution, whether we were discriminating. You have to have a legitimate reason to discriminate.
Yeah.
And I was trying, in my mind, so I was thinking a lot. I was not advocating one way or the other. I'm sorry, I was just talking loud because I'm a lawyer and I think that with a legal lens and not with a policy lens. There is, to give you the conclusion of the analysis, there's enough basis for distinction, so it's not unconstitutional to limit this to Dover. But I'm not advocating that it should be limited to Dover.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the request is a lawful. But having said all that, I think it makes sense to allow what Jeff is asking for. Namely, let the program administrators decide if somebody from Worcester or Medway should get a pass.
So we get the ability to buy a pass.
Yes,
Yeah.
because there's 33 in the past, assuming that.
She asked for 20, I think is,
Right, so 20 is 33, so not everybody's gonna get a pass.
And they all, I mean, remember, they all can park when there's sailing lesson or swim meet.
right.
We're not excluding anybody from that. It's just a matter of who's going to be there, parking the rest of this season,
Yeah.
all summer. And I'm okay with just leaving it up to these sailing people, Alexis and the Farm Pond group, to figure this out and run this pilot. And then we'll see how it goes.
I'm fine with that.
All right, so I want to make a motion. Oh, sorry, Nora.
I think she's
Yeah, no
waiting for the
problem.
next one.
I actually, when I first read this, I was like, ooh, each, but limited only to 20, I think is really acceptable. Jeannie, my question was, how many lottery ones do we have?
We sell, what did we sell? 152.
60. It's
No.
in here. I'm sorry. I have it right here. Nora. I think it's 165 this year.
That could have included extra people who were on. I think it's more than 165, Jeff. I don't have that paperwork in front of you.
And that's at three. That's at
That's
$300.
65 stickers and 28 passes for the show.
Yeah.
Because some people get a sticker, some people get a pass that they can like put 2 license plates on. They can only take 1 car at a time, but that way, if somebody, the mother or somebody has the car, and they can just transfer it back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I just
So-
think to have up to $6,000 extra coming into the town is pretty good. And
Yeah.
hey, and it's
Hey.
limited. And as long as the parking is still acceptable for, those times, I think it's a fantastic idea.
All right, someone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I would move that we authorize, I'm not sure, but the yacht club, what's Alexis's, the yacht club?
Sherborn Yacht Club.
Sherborn Yacht Club, to authorize up to 20 season-long passes be offered to people who pay for the pass and who are registered in one of the two programs, the sailing or the swimming program.
Pay to the town of Sherborn if you
To be paid to the town of Sherborn.
take a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to be friendly and second my motion?
All right, seconded, all in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you. All right, next, item 6, consideration of appointment to the recycling committee. We have Robert Spence for a term to expire June 15, 2029. That's a reappointment. And then we have Vicky Relis and Joyce Aspel who have applied to be new appointments to the recycling committee. So I assume there's 2 open spots, right?
Here,
Well,
One reappointment.
Robert's being the reappointment, and 1 open spot, 1 vacant spot. Okay. And what is the term for the vacant spot? Is it also June 15, 2029?
yes.
Okay.
So I had a wild thought. Volunteers are wonderful. So while we have a committee that has essentially 2 spots that need to be filled, why not we make it 3 spots and put all 3 on
There's only one. There's 3 people for 2 spots.
right now?
Yeah.
I'm saying, why not make it 3 spots and appoint all 3?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, or at least make them a
And it's
not a member.
an
But
associate member.
if we can make the committee be enlarged by 1, I would go for
The
that.
recycling committee is a selectman committee, I believe.
An advisory committee for this one.
Yeah.
I would give them an even number of people, which isn't always great on committees.
Well, I would argue against that because, first of all, I don't see the recycling committee getting into locked debates. And secondly, I think it's great that these applicants have got good resumes. And if they want to work
Yeah.
on a volunteer basis,
So I
why not put them to work?
guess one thing that struck me was just that, Robert and Vicky are both Sherborn residents. Joyce is not a Sherborn resident, and our custom typically is to, when we can, to appoint Sherborn residents to committees.
If you have to choose between them, sure.
Well, what about if we appointed Joyce to a voting membership? Is that,
We could do that.
I think, and then, decide later at a later date. Next year, we may have 2 vacancies and not enough applicants, so keep someone who's interested and who's willing to work.
If
And their input is being reflected in the committee.
that gets us to a unanimous vote, I would then move to appoint Vicky Relis and Robert Spence to the recycling committee as voting members, and Joyce Aspel as an associate member of the committee.
Because I'd have the concern of setting a precedent of appointing non-residents when there isn't, extenuating circumstances. There are times when, can't find a Sherborn resident. We give a preference to Sherborn residents, can't find a Sherborn resident, and then, we consider a non-resident. But if we have a 5-member committee, it's been functioning fine. This to me doesn't seem like an extraordinary circumstance where we would want to be thinking about putting non-residents on committees. I guess I don't.
Correct my recollection, I thought we did that for the Water Commission. Water Commission, we
I
appointed.
think we did it for the Disability Advisory Committee because they couldn't find a Sherborn resident.
Not for
And
the Water District?
No, everybody in the water district is their own residents.
I thought there's a couple of letters in there from me.
No.
All right, sure.
They're all Sherborn residents.
so, I think we'd be setting a precedent here that we're going to welcome non-residents onto committees. And I think I would have concern about setting that precedent unless there are extenuating, extraordinary circumstances.
I agree with Dan. I think that the expectation from the general public is that town boards and committees and policies are generally being set and informed by town residents.
This is an associate position suggesting.
Yeah, I know, but it's. Are you saying that an associate position has no real function? And no real input?
It's non-voting, if I didn't make it clear.
Yeah, but I think that if you are inviting non-residents to have sort of a voice at the table in a committee or a board that either is making policy or advising a policy-making board, again, like Dan said, that's not a precedent that I think that we want to set. It has not been what the town has done on other boards and committees up to now. Again, short of extenuating circumstances like simply the inability to fill an actual voting position. Again, I recognize why you were suggesting what you were suggesting. And I think in other past situations, it has been appropriate. I don't believe that in this situation that it is necessary or appropriate. So I don't think that I would support that.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion?
Well, the modified motion I'd make would be Vicky Relis and Robert Spence.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Thank you very much. Can I just take 1 minute? I've done some homework for you.
Okay.
And I did a bit of research. Now that you're appointed, I think you're going to have fun. Particularly getting money. There is a top 10 list that I have here for you. It's a 1-pager. This is a lot of it too, but I made it down on 1 page for you. I did make it. You guys can share that if you don't mind. And there's a good amount of money to be had and a good amount of programs. And this is just the top 10. Going through this all, there's a program to pay for the stickers, to pay for lighting, to pay for someone to man the, for someone to, the salary for somebody in the swap shop and on the recycle committees. There's programs that I want. I was a kindergarten teacher once upon a time, and I love getting at kids to get things going. And there's a huge program that's financed that can get the schools involved with this recycle program. So there's also another, so I think you can keep an eyeball on that. But now that you've elected me, and I really appreciate it, I will come back to you in October and give you some full out information. Now, I'm not sure what the recycle committee has done thus far, so I'll check with them and see what they've done, and then maybe we can put our heads together and get some of this done. Some of the funding times have gone by already, some of them not, but we can certainly prepare ourselves for next year. And there's a probably close to, I'd say after looking at it, because there's a point system that they give you, the state gives you points for things that you do. And right now we only receive $400. And if we up our point system by getting involved with certain programs, that can go up to $7,000. So there's a lot of gap in some of these that we can kind of just take monies in and use it. And I was really happy to find a ton of opportunity. The other thing is, I just wanted
Not
to.
just dollars, I'm interrupting, but it's also kind of cool programs too.
Exactly.
It's not just the dollars are helpful, but it's focusing on topics that.
They have like a repair cafe.
Yeah, this is what you gave us. I put over here. It's cool.
Yeah, and we can go to Dover and maybe do it at the school and get some of the kids from, the agricultural school, the kids that do some of the repair work with welding and that, get them involved in it. So, and I'm also editor of a new newsletter that I'm pushing out to the residents as well, and I can put this stuff in it, so I can get the word out to get things going. So I really want to do well for the town, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it. So by October, at some point in October, I hope to come back to you with some information and get this on the road.
Thank
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Vicky.
Thanks,
For
Vicky.
volunteering.
All right, next item 7, discussion consideration of select board representation on the land acquisition committee.
I guess I was on the land acquisition committee, so was Marion. We were both on the committee. I sort of wonder if it's a broader issue. There's only people on the committee right now.
Well, it's because the several of the boards who are supposed to appoint people have not gotten around to it, including ourselves.
Yes.
So,
And the moderator.
and the moderator.
I spoke to Mike Gianello today, actually,
Right.
and he has a couple of names that he's going to approach people that he thought might be good for this committee, so he said he would get back to me.
And I think anyone else who's familiar with this committee and on boards that are relevant to this committee should help Mike, come up with names.
Yeah.
Because he's not on a lot of stuff right now.
But you've given us a number of presentations showing all the properties that they can be looking at, and we're pretty strongly supportive of the value of it.
Were you saying that you're willing to do it again?
Me? No, actually, I would do it again, but my plate is full.
Yeah.
And
We
I
need
think
new
we
people.
need some.
I got thrown off the committee because I can't be on advisory, be on 2 committees, so I got thrown off.
But you're not on advisory anymore.
We need new blood.
We need.
What about Dan?
Yeah, he's.
So his households on the committee.
So do you have any suggestions for anybody? Because it doesn't have to be somebody who's on the board.
No, exactly. Well, Dan and I were chatting.
Yeah.
Just before the meeting, I've been thinking that it would be great to have someone from the Board of Assessors, if they're willing to do it, to be on the committee. And the one citizen of Sherborn that I know has been on the Board of Assessors for a while and has been very engaged is Drew Cheval.
Yeah.
He's not on the board of assessors anymore.
He worked in their office, I think, didn't he, or
He
something?
was a board of assessor at one time, Drew.
But he's not.
He might be interested. I don't know if he is.
And on Marion's point, I do see the logic of having somebody with connections to the assessor's office on or connected to the committee, since they're the ones who have ready access to land records. So potentially even the director of assessing, I don't know if he'd be willing to do that or not, but
I just spent like an hour meeting with Steve McCarthy.
Steve McCarthy, yeah.
I was a long time talking to him.
Yeah.
Is he a
He lives in Worcester. No, he lives in Worcester.
What,
I have an idea though. What about, I was thinking of, Matt Vitale was a long time on the Board of Health, but, I ran into him today at the post office, just came back from Copenhagen, but, he might be a good person to be on the committee. If we talk
Perhaps,
into it.
yeah.
I could ask him. I think the reason why he rolled off the Board of Health is because he's too busy, but.
Yeah.
He's
If you want to get something done, you
got two kids in the school system, you know?
This would be lighter. I'd still come back to, maybe not as a committee member, but I think we do want to make sure that this committee is connected to the assessor's office.
When I think
Because the land records, and that's so much of the information base that they need. Is this property in chapter land or not in chapter land? It's so much the information base that
I
they
think
need.
it's appropriate for the director of assessing the meeting whole, but
And maybe not on the committee, but as liaison or whatever.
Diane,
and the director of assessing should be involved.
but our current Board of Assessors, there's three of them, right?
Yes.
How many, is there one resident or is it two residents?
There are two.
There are two residents?
So they could be potential.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so
They
I
can be
would
asked.
say we could try by reaching out to those two and see if either of them would have any interest in being on the land acquisition committee.
But can I suggest
Speed will not necessarily be.
the structure of that committee really requires the presence of a select board member? Because of all the boards and committees in town that need to be represented, yes, the assessors are a good addition, but the select board is the one that's going to have to do all these things. I mean, acquiring property is not something that the assessors do. So you ought to have a member of this board on that committee.
Well, I think one of the thoughts in allowing these various boards and commissions and committees to appoint a person was that appointee would be a liaison back to the committee that appointed them. And in practice, that hasn't always happened. But I take your point, Paul. You make a good point.
I think we need some.
Would you like to do it?
I think the problem, I think, maybe you're not as familiar with it, but this is like a working committee, like they sit down and study. In other words, the select board could maybe review their work and review some of their proposals, but like what Mary and I were doing was grunt work, looking at properties and gathering data and populating databases with all the attributes of a given property, whether it's, environmental or sports and athletics.
But they need to make a decision.
They do, but I'm not sure that 90% of their meeting time wouldn't require a select board person because they're preparing proposals or assembling data on properties. And then you're right, there is a stage where they would need someone that could help implement the proposal, but you know what, I'm not saying it very well.
You're saying exactly what I would say, actually. The Land Acquisition Committee doesn't make the decisions on acquiring land or doing whatever. They gather information and have it ready to roll.
Yeah.
When the select board needs it.
Yeah.
And you're right, Jeffrey. I remember too, gathering that information takes quite a lot of time.
Laborious.
For each property, we had a whole spreadsheet of evaluation and then maps and so it takes time it's a bit of work on the committee. And it's not terrible work. It's kind of really interesting, but I think we should appoint someone who we know has the time and interest. We
got to appoint. There's 4 vacancies, so a lot of someone's.
Well, short of one of us 5 volunteering, are we in agreement that we should have Diane reach out to the 2 board members of the Board of Assessors who are residents to see if either of them has interest.
Sure.
Yeah, that
I think it's worth asking.
That seems like a good idea.
All right,
Mhm.
we'll start with that.
Yep, I'll do that tomorrow.
Thank you.
You could always draw straws.
Yeah.
See who gets.
Well, I'm on record saying that the committee shouldn't even exist, so you probably don't want me on that committee.
I don't think, and I don't think.
You might
I
get a
can-
Mark Pond sticker. It's down the price.
And I don't think I can serve on a committee that would have two members of my the same committee. Don't think that would be a good idea.
Might not get it free.
And I've already paid my dues.
All right. Consideration of appointment to the ZBA, John Hammond, current associate member, and Eddie Mae Weiss. So these would be two candidates for one voting position and one associate position. Is that correct?
They are both attending virtually.
Okay, great.
So,
And is Zach McBride here by any chance?
Back is at movie night.
Okay.
so can I make a motion?
Sure.
So I would move to appoint Addie Mae Weiss as the full member and John Hammond as an associate member.
Wait, John Hammond is the current associate member.
Yes,
All right.
but don't we want to?
So typically when there's an opening and there's an existing associate member who shows interest in the voting position, we would usually appoint the associate member into the voting position.
Well, the reason why I'm suggesting Addie Mae Weiss is that she has given years of service to the town in many responsible positions, so she comes with a more comprehensive view of the town's issues. And I think if she's willing to serve, that's a valuable asset to the community that we should take advantage of.
Yeah, I kind of agreed with Stephen though. I get, because if this person's already served an associate member, I sort of feel like we should recognize their contribution.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, but I also actually favor Addie Mae for the voting position because she, with all her years of work, and she works really hard on the planning board, she knows the zoning laws backward and forward. And she has that.
Mm-hmm.
And, they both, I think either of them would be good members, honestly. But for that reason, I favor Addie Mae. And John Hammond may be willing to stay on as associate member. That would be great. But I think Addie Mae's knowledge of zoning laws and her willingness to put her shoulder to the wheel and do the work should count. So
I'm going to keep the conversation up here for now, and then I'll call on Eugenie. Dan, do you have? You know what? Actually, I'll speak before you.
Go ahead.
So I have spoken on the phone with Zach McBride, who is the chair of the ZBA, I was hoping that Zach would be here. Typically when we are appointing people into a committee, and then if it's quote unquote contested, simply to say that if there is more than one applicant for a single spot, we will usually ask the opinion of the existing board or committee if they have an opinion on who they would like to be appointed. And in my conversation with Zach, essentially the way that we discussed it was that the typical path would be that the associate member, if they have interest in the open voting position, would usually be the one appointed into the full voting position, and then the other candidate who has not been an associate member would then get appointed as an associate member with the understanding that they would likely be next in line for the next sort of opening, should they be interested. And my understanding with Zach was that that was the way that we should go. And unless I heard otherwise from him, which I haven't, that that would most likely be the direction that the select board would go. So I personally, I also agree that Addie May would be a very valuable addition to the ZBA. And customarily, it would be appropriate to appoint her as an associate member. And I think that with the ZBA, especially historically, the associate members have generally been fairly involved, and their input is sought and appreciated during the meetings. And in fact, I believe that the way that Rick Novak and Zach McBride run the meetings is that the associate members also will have a vote on all of the issues, even if their vote doesn't technically count, so that when he writes the full actual decision of the ZBA, the full voting members are tallied as the votes, and then it will be noted how the associate member voted. So essentially, they are treated practically like full voting members, and that causes them to be pretty well set up to be appointed when another opening is there. And I have not seen or heard any particular reason why we shouldn't be doing that in the current situation. But I am open to hear. I would prefer to hear specific reasons or anecdotes as to why you might think that Addie May would be a logical leapfrog over John Hammond. But otherwise, I don't see a strong reason why we should break from the tradition of how we have generally appointed to our boards and committees. I guess Dan and then Jeannie, if you wanted to say anything.
So I think this is a case of an embarrassment of riches. I think Addie May, for all the reasons people have said, brings an extraordinary set of skills to this. I think John Hammond's been very valuable as an associate member. My expectation is that in the fullness of time, and probably not too far in the future, they would both be voting members of the committee. And as Steve said, the tradition on the committee has been that that associate members are very integrally involved in committee discussion and decisions. So given what Steve reported from Zach McBride, I think I would be inclined to follow the usual policy and appoint John Hammond to the voting position and Addie May to the associate position. With great thanks to both of them for their work and efforts on the committee. And again, as I said, with an expectation that probably before too long, they're both going to be full voting members of the committee.
I'll just react to that by saying,
yeah,
both of them are outstanding candidates.
Absolutely.
So we can't go
absolutely.
whichever way.
Yeah. I agree.
We're lucky to have them both.
We're lucky to have them both.
I agree.
Are you making that as a motion?
Well, currently there is a motion on the table from Paul that has not been seconded, because Paul moved to appoint Addie May Weiss as the full voting member, and that was not seconded. So I'm just going to let that hang there for a little bit before entertaining a new motion.
Well, based on the fact that it was going to be 3-2, I'm going to withdraw the motion in favor of the 3.
So the motion has been withdrawn, so the floor is now open for a new motion. Oh, wait, Michael Lesser has his hand up.
Hi. No, I appreciate what Steve and Dan have articulated about giving some deference to the committee itself. And I would only make the sort of maybe the awkward question of, for example, John, I see you here in the thing there, whether you have been an active member. I haven't been to the ZBA lately to see whether, I mean, as an associate member, have you been participating? in the meetings, while you've been an associate would be, I guess I'm not supposed to talk to you directly, would be an issue that I would just ask the select board to consider. And I assume that would be reflected by maybe Zach's comments. But since he's not here, that would be one of the criteria that I would think about in doing this. But in general, I agree with the principle that you're following.
John, you can answer that question. And actually, I'll take any comments that you and Eddie may have as well.
I believe that I participate. It has been a learning journey in understanding the ZBA, the workings of the ZBA, and it's been I guess a good year to kind of start to understand more fully the work and obviously participate where I can in the town.
Thanks. And Addie Mae, do you have any comments since you're the other candidate for the spot here? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I will say, planning board tends to be one that people, because of all the zoning articles in town meeting, people were more visible. ZBA tends to be a committee that has a lot of work, especially the last 10 years with 40Bs, that unless you have a particular issue, you don't tend to pay too much attention to the work they're doing. And so I'm very aware that, the ZBA's been busy, and anyone who has served as the associate member already, the natural kind of the culture in our town is someone who's already put in the hours and done the work and has been and knows the routine. It's a natural progression that if they're willing to then step up and continue, that we would, especially in a town where we have a difficult time finding volunteers, that we would want to encourage that they paid their dues. And I am happy to step into the associate role and get up to speed, because yes, I am familiar with the zoning, but it's a different routine and it's a different perspective. So
Great. Thank you, Addie Mae. Jeannie?
As somebody who gets to go to all the zoning board meetings, I will say John has been a big contributor, and I think Addie Mae is going to do great. And because even though she's an associate, doesn't mean she can't contribute to the meeting. And I'm pretty sure that she's going to have her full voting next year if you appoint her as an associate now.
Okay. So, can I have a motion?
Yeah, I would move to, as written on the handout, I would move that John Hammond be appointed to the full member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and Addie Mae Weiss be appointed to the associate membership.
Second.
All right. Moved and seconded. All in favor? All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, John and Addie Mae.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Addie Mae.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 9, consideration of appointment to the Town Forest Committee, Sam Van Blarkum, for a term to expire June 15, 2029. This is a reappointment.
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor? All right, thank you.
He's the same age as my kids for some reason. I don't know him.
Item 10, consideration of signing the September 1st, 2026 state primary election warrant. Request of John Doyle, Town Clerk.
There he is. Move to approve the warrant. So we want a primary in Sherborn. Not be the only town in Massachusetts doesn't have a primary.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Free to sign before you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, where are we at here? Item 11, Economic and Community Development Advisory Group, Heidi Doyle.
Good evening, everyone. I think you can probably see in the packet what the concept is that I have. A lot of the communities around us, the planning departments have been changed to become community and economic development just been the shift of how this whole field is changing. And then when we had the open space survey, what came back was that several people cited time constraints of why they didn't want to get involved with committees, the commitment, but that they, would like to volunteer. So, and the feedback I've had from some of the roundtables we've done so far, it seems that there are people who are willing to volunteer but don't want the commitments. So a suggestion I was thinking is if we could form a economic and community development advisory group that is not a committee, but that would be focusing small groups to try and actually produce a report or some research on particular topics, such as we've got people that are interested in design standards downtown, like with signs, maybe the trails, maybe, different walks that could be done, water, sewer, other community building use, or different land uses, that these would be small groups. I was thinking myself, maybe a select board member and Jeremy would help form the groups, give them direction. They'd have some staff input and involvement, but then hopefully they'll be more self-directed and do some research to come back with something that would then support other committees or groups when we go to town meeting to supplement what some planning board decisions are. So I understand no one wants a committee, and this would not form a committee, but it would really tap into some of the volunteers that people would like to get involved with, and maybe help us get some information that would assist our current boards. I'm open to questions or suggestions.
Well, just a comment. First of all, anything that brings people into our community with the willingness to volunteer for service to the town should be encouraged. So I was going to support this. And a second comment would be that the community and economic development committees that I have worked with in other towns are often specifically involved with trying to attract particular businesses or industries to come to that town and to produce revenue, tax revenue for the town. And I hope by this name, the purpose of this isn't to attract big manufacturing operations in town.
No, that's what, this is not that type of town. And that's why I did not want to have it be an economic development committee. But I do think there is an economic focus from what I've heard from our business roundtables of local business that are struggling, things of how can we make some things better in town to help the business community out. But I do think that it should be included in how, if we're facing fiscal crises, what types of things could be done in town if there's a group of volunteers looking to entertain some other research.
Sure.
Mary, why don't you go ahead while Steve's.
Yeah, Heidi. I'd love to just talk to you more about this, but my first sort of knee-jerk reaction to this is that all of the functions that you mentioned are already the functions, the official functions of other groups and committees in town. So I am totally in favor of bringing in more volunteers, more heads to the table, but I'm not sure. This sounds a bit redundant, and exactly what sort of advice they would give to each other is not clear to me.
Yeah, I would say more directive rather than redundant. Right now, when we've been doing some of our zoning bylaw outreach, I've had several people very vocal about sign bylaws and design standards of what things, they'd like to see in town. The planning board can't get involved in a lot of these things. They don't have the time and energy. But if there was a group of people that got together and wanted to look at and put a paper together or a report, we looked at towns, we've come up with this, it would actually help the planning boards with their decisions. So when I've talked with other planners that have economic and development committees, one of the things that they said was they didn't want it to be a group of people that just talked and didn't produce anything. And the towns that had the most success were if they directed specific groups to come up with a very limited project. And they said it really helped support the boards with decisions that when they went to town meeting, planning board could say, yes, we've studied water and sewer and we've looked at it. And oh, by the way, a group of residents did this and here's the report of what they came up with. And these are the reasons we support. So it's not, to me, redundant as much as helping assist people getting to it. And we're not going to have every board and every answer. And we're just going to start and see if it goes. This would, because it's only a group, it's not a formal committee. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But where I've got some people that are energized and would like to get involved, it might be nice to try and channel that.
I guess I'm with Marion on this. It takes someone to organize things. It's not a matter of having extra input. That's always valuable, but we have some 30 or 40 committees in town with every one of them have 2 or 3 vacancies. So I see it as perhaps not constructive in that maybe not supporting some of the committees that already exist.
Well, some of the reasons they have the vacancies, what came out is people don't want to take a commitment where they have to commit for a long period of time, many meetings. Yet if they had something that was a couple months, they might do it. So
yeah, but we can always get informal input. I'm not in favor of this proposal at all.
Sorry.
Okay.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Are you done? Okay.
No, I'm finished.
Okay. Dan and then Vicky.
So I think I'm with Paul on this in that it seems like there are issues that come up that can slip through the cracks to some degree. Because they're covered by a committee, but that committee has, does not have unlimited bandwidth to dig in. And I was struck by one of the things in the survey that the Open Space Committee did, picking up on Heidi's point, that people were interested in being engaged in town affairs, but felt that being appointed to a committee for a 3-year term was just a bigger commitment than they could take on. But if there was a specific project that had a finite horizon, that, they'd be happy to engage. And so I think in terms of, who's going to organize, I think Heidi is kind of putting herself out there to be the one who would identify a group of people, a small group of people who had an interest in a particular issue and, have them go to work and do some research and put a paper together that might help a committee, might be valuable input to a committee that actually had jurisdiction over those issues. So I find this an appealing thing to try. And as Heidi said, it might work or it might not work, but to me, it's an appealing thing to try.
Yeah,
Vicky and then Marion.
The way
Marion. Vicky's been waiting. Sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, I've been talking to Heidi, but I've also been involved with the business group. I've had 3 meetings with them and I've set up a plan that kind of outlines this type of situation. And there clearly is a need for some research-based work that will help these groups because these groups have enough stuff to do. And I think there's a good amount of information and ability to gather, grants or understanding why things can be they are, or why they should be changed. So the ZBA, for example, if we want to change zoning, now they have to go through all this, but if there were a group of people that really truly wanted to get down to the nitty-gritty, came up with some research and said, look, you guys, this is what we did. This will help make a decision. We understand it can go either way, or we understand why it can't go this way now. So we agree with you. But I think there's a lot of information out there that I started looking at the water and sewer, and I think there's some potential there. But I presented all of this to many of the businesses in town, and they're very, and I've talked to Heidi as well, and they're very excited about getting involved with helping, not the decision-making, but the proactive ability to get businesses to come into town. Because I wrote up, there was a whole line of different people that can be brought, different businesses that can be brought in under the current laws. And there's 15 different types. So if it's split up between the group that comes up, and maybe there's 5 people in the group, and each one knows people that are in these businesses and can start doing an outreach, that's the kind of thing they want to do. So it's not just looking at what the current committees are doing. it's also kind of looking at opportunities that are out there that are like just kind of on the side that really can make an impact. And I think that it wouldn't be redundant. It could be if it's not managed well. I don't think it will be though. I think the business community is really eager to do something to help everybody. And that means help businesses come into the town and get extra revenue. So we're all trying to get extra revenue somewhere. And, if they can help look at some options that we haven't seen with the committees, then go for it.
Marion.
Yeah, I'm getting two different pictures of how this would work. One is from Heidi, that there would be a group of people that are kind of really like raring to go, but don't have a lot of time and interested in certain things.
Right.
The other is there are problems in town that we all know,
Right.
lack of business or the water and sewer in town center or whatever. Each of those will attract a different bunch of people who are interested. It's not the same people.
No, I don't think so. I think there'll be, and I want to see everything. I mean, I'm attracted to everything. So it's not like the business revenue and getting business in town is the main, the development.
Well, yeah, that's one issue.
Right.
Yeah,
But
that's good.
involved with the water and sewer, certainly you wouldn't go and say, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I mean, basically, maybe somebody would take the impetus to sit in on a meeting and say, you know what, I could probably help with that. Or it's not something you would jump on right away, but there's like a myriad, 10 or 15 different line items that you can kind of drop down and say, who's interested in this stuff, and let them go for it, or just organize.
I had the impression that, Heidi, you should jump in here. I had the impression your vision was on different topics, it'd be a different group of people rather than
Right.
not that here are 8 people who are going to be the standing members of this group, but here are 3 people or 4 people working on this topic. When that's done, maybe there's another topic in a different group of 4 people. Is that right?
Yes, that's why it's not a committee. It's just it's a group where if you come up with a project, I have residents that want to work on design standards in town, whether historical guidelines, and we don't have anything coming in right now for that, but they were willing to research it and do it. Other people are interested in maybe the trails. So it's not the same people, it'd be small groups of people, but the goal is that these people who have an interest would work on something they're passionate about, short term. And the goal is to produce something that can be taken back to help substantiate a view. So it would be, some projects may take longer than others. Some may only be a very short couple of months of someone doing some research. It may be 2 or 3 people. It may be 5 people. Depends on. I kind of would just like the chance to give this a try, and if you want to try it for a year and see where it goes, but we're identifying groups of people that want to get involved on a short-term basis. I felt this might help a need in town, and maybe if they get involved, they're willing to do further and look at a committee. That. But I do feel there's a group of people out there that right now we're not tapping into.
Paul.
So as I said before, I'm in favor of this, but I wanted to propose a little amendment to the motion here. Right now is just to see if the select board would support creating an informal advisory groups, so on and so on, but there's nobody associated with doing this. So I would like this to have this a little bit directed, if Eddie, you're agreeable, to say that this would be managed by the town planner.
Yes, and my proposal was that it would be managed by the town planner with the town administrator and a select board member. So that there was more focus given on what we'd like the tasks to be from this group.
Well, I have a few questions that might be, I don't know, vaguely more legal questions, but I guess number one would be, if these are informal ad hoc advisory groups and not actual public committees that are beholden to the open meeting law, then you don't really need the select board's approval to even do it, I don't believe. I mean, I know that, you know, Jeremy and I have spoken quite a bit over the past couple of years, and every now and then we're like, oh, here's this issue. And then, you know, I might just suggest to Jeremy, why don't you pull together just an ad hoc advisory group of people that you identify in town to advise him on a matter, and then he'll just incorporate that into some kind of advice that he gives to the select board. It's not anything that is discussed in a public meeting. I mean, once you start getting into here is a person who is the town planner who is leading this, and actually the town administrator will be involved, and also one select board member. And we're going to pull together a specific group of residents, and they're going to look at a particular topic, and they're going to meet over a number of months, and then come back with recommendations. It's like, that's a committee. And if I was a member of the public who was interested in this topic, but not interested enough to show up to these meetings, I mean, to join the group, I would be a little bit upset that now this shadow group is meeting and making decisions, and they're not beholden to the open meeting law. So to me, again, the concept, great, wonderful. Bunch of people who are raring to go, interested, don't really want to commit to a full committee. Great. You as the town planner have specific things in mind that you're like, wow, well, these 5 people are vaguely interested in this topic. All right, well, why don't I meet with them and just get their ideas about something, and you incorporate that into some kind of a recommendation that you make to the planning board. You as the town planner, I believe, have the authority to just pull together any informal ad hoc advisory group that you want without, it's actually, I think, probably more troublesome to be looking for official select board approval of forming these groups, because that really sounds like something that should be open meeting, but I don't know. You can Paul, you can tell me if I'm straying way off line.
Because I specifically did not include the part about under the direction of the town administrator, town planning, and a select board member, because a management committee of those 3, in my mind, crosses the line so that you now have a committee working together, as opposed to what you were just describing and what I was suggesting here, that the town planner organize and manage groups of people.
Yeah.
That doesn't have an open.
But I believe that she's free to do that without our approval anyways, right?
Right, but she's looking to see if we would support the idea rather than her just doing it on her own.
Well, I'm not in favor of this at all, to be candid with you, because it's not a committee, it's called an advisory group. It's forming a body. So I'm going to vote against this proposal under any condition. Completely opposed to it. If we want to get some ad hoc support, that's fine.
I mean,
but I don't think this sounds to me to be more serious and structured than what happens on an ad hoc basis. And so I'm not in favor of this article item in any way, shape, or form.
We do at times, Jeremy does pull together ad hoc groups.
Exactly.
On a variety of topics that we think are not subject to open meeting law, just because they are providing advice and input to the town administrator.
Yeah. I just think it's just part of normal business.
That's fine. I had not realized that would be in my purview. And if it is, that's great.
Yeah. No, I think I don't see any reason why you can't essentially just informally pull together an ad hoc group on whatever topic or project or whatever it is you see fit. You're the town planner, and you can use whatever tools or methods you feel like are most appropriate or efficient for you to do your job. There's nothing preventing you from doing it. And then coming and seeking official select board approval, that's where, I don't know, I start getting a little bit uncomfortable creating bodies that are not subject to the open meeting law. I don't really like that.
Okay. No, my end result is to try and channel the volunteers. So if it's all right for me to do it, I'm fine.
I think you should continue moving forth, doing whatever you think you need or can do to again harness all of that energy and direct it towards specific projects. And I don't think you need our approval to do it.
And I think doing that would be great, because again, I think there is a group of people want to contribute,
Mhm.
but aren't
Yeah.
prepared to sign up for a committee. And if there's a way to get them engaged on a topic, very informally, that seems to me like a really good thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can
Nope.
use it as a recruitment effort to get more volunteers for the planning board or for, the select board or whoever,
Well, that's the hope, is to try
Yeah.
and bring in some new people.
Yeah.
But nope.
Advisory committee, I mean, it's tough. This 9-member committee and it's only a 3-year term. It's hard keeping that committee full. So
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the people who are interested in business development would be good candidates for the advisory committee.
No, I am fine doing it. I just didn't want to start doing it and have someone say, why are you doing this? So if it's within my purview, that is great. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Do I get the comment?
Oh, sorry. Michael, sorry. It's the monitor here in town hall. Like there's a little thing that says town hall meeting room and it exactly blocks people's hands. So I don't see it when
okay.
somebody's handed up. I should notice the fact that you are in the top left corner, which isn't where you normally would be, but go ahead. Go ahead, Michael.
Yes, Michael Lesser, 54 Forest Street. I I agree with where you came out. I was going to say that on the Conservation Commission, we have done our own people who come out and help and have our own sort of little group for certain issues, so that it is something that Conservation Commission has done. And I'd be concerned when it gets more formal because then things become less information collection or just doing things and becomes advocacy. And sometimes that forces other people to then ground truth whatever comes out from some groups that might be particular advocates of a particular issue or project. And it gets a little tricky as to how well researched a topic is. And then it also forces other people to have to respond to those kind of things that might not be well done. But I do certainly want people to get their input in and count and sort of corral that energy. So I think it's a good idea if you could find people to do things, but I do have a concern about what the outcomes sometimes might be, depending on what the goal is. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, next, number 12, continued discussion of transfer station operating procedures and draft policy. This should be a short one. I don't know, Jeremy or Dan, do you want to sort of get us caught up to where we're at right now?
I can take a stab.
Yeah.
Let Evan fill in as well.
Yep.
This has been a subject of discussion of the board. 3 or 4 meetings now, where you've gathered input, discussed amongst yourselves to help formalize a policy to operate the transfer station and recycling center. You've talked about some big items that seem to then, with some decisions on these bigger items, would help then inform a more detailed draft of an operating policy. So there's bigger issues being revolved around the use of the transfer station by commercial entities, by agricultural entities, whether you would accept construction debris, what other fees you may want to charge, use of the swap shop by residents or not and non-residents, hours of operation of the transfer station. Those are sort of the big picture items that if the board had some guidance on, working group that I've formed could then work on some more detail to bring back to you. We have a in front of you. I think you need to make some bigger picture decisions to help inform that. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that tonight we can vote on a few of those bigger picture decisions. But I don't know, Dan, is there additional info or insight that you wanted to provide before we go deep into the discussion here?
I think I would really just reiterate what Jeremy said of kind of teeing up those key issues. I've highlighted, others have highlighted ways in which Sherborn is an outlier relative to our neighboring communities, and that and the cost piece again, given that we're likely looking to override next year and a very tight budget situation, those things together, inform my view of the direction that I would like the select board to go. But I think if we're going to consider each of these in turn, we can get to each one, and I can, add whatever insight I can on each one.
Okay, great.
I was just gonna say though, I was actually kind of disappointed by this. I thought they would come back to us with options, specific options to consider on some of the 3 or 4 major topics here. Right now, this is just the same laundry list we looked at before, in my view.
Wait, what do you mean by options?
Well, commercial waste, charging a fee, what would that entail? What kind of benefits will we receive, there's a bunch of things here that, I don't think there's enough information here to really, this still seems vague to me, I guess.
Well, I guess I'll try to crystallize it into a series of black and white decisions. If that helps.
I wish that had been in the packet.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that many of the subsequent decisions depend on the upstream decision, right? So, for example, commercial waste. The first decision is whether or not to accept commercial waste, yes or no. And so.
But I don't know what the implications are. In other words, how much commercial waste is there? And,
Yeah, but we can make those decisions. But I think, like, philosophically, right? I mean, the vast majority of the, peer towns that we've looked at do not allow commercial waste, right? And so we are already an outlier there. And so the question becomes, all right, should we continue being an outlier, and should we continue allowing commercial waste? There's a sort of philosophical decision to be made there, right?
I agree with that.
You don't believe that?
No, I agree that.
Yes or no?
More facts. It's not only philosophical. In other words, we're a tiny town. So when we say commercial waste, we may only have, I'm not sure what the date is, how many commercial waste contributors are there to commercial waste? I don't know what, there's very few businesses in town. So I think we need to know what this entails.
So, Jeff, one of the challenges is that, the detailed data on what's going to the transfer station.
No, I've been in all these conversations.
We don't track that.
I know.
There is a
maybe
table.
we need to.
But that would be a year's work to figure that out. And there is a table in the packet, Jeff, that I put together.
Several times.
Yeah, there's a table that I put together that provided the best estimates I could of things like how much commercial waste.
Is that this?
Yes.
And I didn't quite understand. I need help with this.
Well, if it'd be helpful, I'm happy to walk people through it. It was a very rough estimate. I'm intending to share this with Ruane. I haven't done that yet, but I think that would be important to do, so they could refine it. But this was an effort to try to, highlight, provide some very rough estimates, Jeff, of the kinds of things that you're talking about. But we don't track. We don't track. We don't weigh anything that comes into the transfer station.
No,
we don't. Yeah, and so
I don't feel like I can decide anything.
Well, but what the data you want would cost us? It'd be a year and a lot of money to get a scale at the transfer station to get the data that you're suggesting.
Make a decision.
Well, I mean,
if I don't have any data.
Yeah, but I think I guess this is where we, as the select board, have to kind of put on our big boy pants and make a decision, right? Where I suspect the decision is that we're going to continue allowing commercial waste at the transfer station. And then subsequently we have to decide how we're going to deal with that, right? Because the way that I've been viewing it, the information that we have, the input that we have from the general public, from various customers, again, I watched the recording of the last meeting that I missed. I think that my impression is that the general prevailing opinion is that we want to continue allowing commercial, agricultural, etc. waste there, but we need to basically track it and manage it better, right? So right now, to me, it's like the decision is, do we just say, you know what, forget all of that, we're just not allowing it anymore, because that's just easier to just say no? Or are we going to make the decision to, no, we're going to continue allowing it, we just need to do a better job of tracking it? That's the first decision, which of those two options? And if you're saying that you are unable to make that decision without a significantly greater amount of data that we simply don't have and aren't going to have for the foreseeable future, you may just have to abstain from that vote.
That might happen.
Yeah. So, and if that's how you feel, then
There's
that's
only 3 or 4, like, for example, definition of farm waste, we have no farm waste. We've already heard 3 farmers tell us that they don't bring anything besides their household trash.
So then you should be fine saying
Right.
that the transfer station should accept farm waste, because it's not a concern.
Only 3 or 4 categories. The other ones aren't really relevant.
Well,
Can and bottle deposit proceeds. I don't know that we need to vote on that.
well, yeah, no, we're not voting on that today.
Well, so,
Right. So that's why.
I'm done. I've made my point. You guys go ahead.
Yeah, so the 3 major areas that I would like to tackle first are like Jeremy said, are we allowing commercial agricultural construction waste? Yes or no? And then the second thing would be swap shop. Is that open to residents only or continue to be open to everybody? Or it could also be most of the time only residents, but a limited number. We can decide later exactly how many and when, open to everybody once a month, twice a month, whatever. And then the third item, which I don't anticipate that we're ready to vote on, would be how many days a week should the transfer station be open? So to me, those are the big 3 topics. And from there, it branches out. And based on how we decide those first things, then we can make further decisions on each one.
And then I think the working group. So for example, if the decision were we want to allow we want to continue allowing commercial waste, but we want to have a fee structure for that. Well, if we make the decision that yes, we want to allow commercial waste, then the working group could go do some comparisons with other towns, think about what would be a sensible fee structure, and then come back to us with here's a fee structure you could consider for that. But
Well, my first reaction to that is what constitutes commercial waste? Maybe we need to decide first what we're considering to constitute commercial waste.
I think it's the way that I think of it. I don't know if this is helpful or not, but I think of residential waste and then basically everything else.
Well, you got agriculture waste.
And that would be in the everything else.
Yeah. So
that's in the everything else. That's the way that I find it easy to think about it. Is there's residential waste, household residential waste, and we could write an 8-paragraph description of what that is. But I think it's you kind of know what that is. And then
I don't know what commercial waste
is.
And
then I think there's everything else. Everything that's not household waste to me is in that all other category, which would include all the other things that we talked about. And that to me is the simplest way to think about it. And most other communities only allow residential household waste at their transfer stations. As Steve said, that doesn't seem to be the sentiment of what people in town want to do. So then we would be allowing we'd be allowing that all other category waste as we do now to come to the transfer station. But my view would be if we do that, we got to have a fee structure.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody shows up, somebody shows
what's bulky waste then? Is that
bulky items?
I know what they are, but is that part of commercial waste or
bulky items are their own category.
I'm done. I don't think there's enough information for me to vote on it.
What would you want to know?
Keep going. I don't know what any category is. I don't know what any of these categories.
You want a 1-paragraph description of each, or what is it that you would? What is it that you would need to be comfortable?
Listen.
Okay. Just gonna listen.
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please do.
Just as a citizen, as a select board member, the waste from my farm, if you looked at it, is household waste.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not in the category of everything other than residential waste. It is essentially residential waste from the people who live there. We don't bring manure to the transfer station.
Great. 4 farms.
So then it's residential waste.
Yeah,
so it's residential waste. That's fine. It's residential waste. That's fine.
The definition is critical. Because when I went to the transfer station, I was told, oh, you're not gonna be able to come here anymore because you own a farm.
Okay, wait, stop. I'm gonna stop you right now. I'm gonna take a straw poll. The five of us here, is anybody here in favor of not allowing commercial, agricultural, or construction waste? Please, straw poll, thumbs up if you are in favor of banning any of those things.
So
I would be consider banning construction waste. Other than like if you're renovating, a rec room and putting some paneling in, I would consider banning construction waste and making people get dumpsters.
Well, I mean, that's sort of what we're supposed to do right now anyways. Right? Because it's like when people show up with what we consider to be a small project,
No, I
and we
know.
have to accept, like that's, I mean,
Enforcement's an issue
yes,
too, but
right,
I
right.
would consider banning construction waste.
All right, so let's set construction waste aside. Is anybody in favor of banning commercial or agricultural waste?
What is commercial? I mean, if it's not construction.
Yeah, anything.
What is from a retail commerce?
Yeah,
from a business.
from a
Anything
business, any business entity.
So
I'm still confused. I hear the words you're saying.
Okay, but are you in favor of banning that?
The reason I don't know is we only have a half a dozen businesses in town, so I can't imagine that's a big topic unless there's something else included in it.
Yeah, I mean, some information that has been relayed to us, there's at least 15 commercial pickups that one of the local haulers.
Well, some of them just
And
go
then
into
there's some
Rowan, aren't showing
other
necessarily as
businesses
being
use
commercial,
other
right?
haulers. So
Wait,
you might have 24 or more commercial entities in your community.
this is businesses picking up residential waste or what?
No. Commercial, like non-residents. So, for example, restaurants and stores and pharmacies and insurance companies and
If it's
whatever.
generated by non-residential household waste.
Yeah.
Regardless of how it gets to your transfer station.
Right.
We have
to accept it or
we have very few businesses in Sherborn, but not zero.
That's
And
right.
those non-zero number of businesses generate a non-zero amount of waste. And some of them are picked up by Ruane and dumped at the transfer station.
and rough estimates would say that non-residential waste is, I'd have to do the math, but probably something like 15% gets to the transfer station.
I mean, I think we all know this is a small town with a very small business footprint. And so the likelihood that the amount of commercial waste is really blowing out the transfer station is pretty low. And if it were, it's doing it right now anyways. So the point is, are you in favor of disrupting that aspect of the transfer station?
No.
Right? I don't think any of us is in favor of that.
Yeah.
So
my view would be if we can put a sensible fee structure in place, I'm fine with what we're doing.
Yeah.
If it would be status quo versus banning commercial waste.
No, that's one of the downstream decisions. Because I don't believe anybody is in favor of just letting everybody indiscriminately dump into the transfer station with no additional fees. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's a downstream decision, right? But the top level decision is ban commercial or not. And my sense was that probably the vote was going to go not banning commercial. And then later on, we can figure out how to deal with all the other stuff.
That sounds good.
Right?
Commercial as opposed to construction.
If we can separate construction out right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
So what are I'd like to better understand, what are the alternatives? If there are other alternatives for commercial waste, I would say ban it from our transfer station.
What do you mean? You mean options for the commerces, for the businesses, or options for the town?
Options for the businesses.
For the businesses, yeah, they would have to find somebody else to pick up their waste.
And someplace else for not just pick up, but where it goes.
I mean, there's something very unique about Sherborn in that we have, we have the vendor who operates the transfer station is also the primary hauler in town.
Yes.
So really, that vendor is running two separate businesses. They have a contract with us to run the transfer station, and then they independently run a business as a trash hauler. We're the only town that has that unique structure.
Yep.
in other communities that ban commercial waste, commercial enterprises, whatever the business is, say a restaurant, they would have a dumpster. They would hire a trash hauler, waste hauler to remove that, and it would go directly out of town to the incinerating facility in Millbury or wherever.
Right.
We have a very unique structure where that hauler, the primary trash hauler, waste hauler in town, brings it directly to the transfer station, does not bring it directly to the incinerating facility in Millbury. It stays in town, it comes to the transfer station, and then the town, taxpayers, pay the roughly $100 a ton to get rid of it and to, have it disposed of.
Right.
In any other town, the fee that, a restaurant X pays to that trash hauler includes shipping out of town and disposing of it. We don't do that.
And the only reason that we don't do it is the same company.
Because it's the same
is
company.
doing this.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it may be the same people. It doesn't have to be the same company. They could structure it such that they have their hauling business that has its own structure, their commercial and construction hauling business, and their residential pickup business.
And that when they pick up, they would bring that to the transfer station, or they would bring it out of town to the incinerator.
If it's construction or commercial, they take it out of town.
I mean,
Millbury.
in other communities, trash haulers, whether they waste haulers, whether they pick up residential or commercial waste, the fees that either a household is paying to them or that a business is paying to them covers the transportation costs to the incinerating facility and the disposal cost for getting rid of it.
Right.
We don't do that. Right. The primary hauler in town collects, fees from households, per month to pick up their trash for the households that choose to do that, for the businesses that hire them. And then it comes to the transfer station. And again, the town then is covering the cost of disposal. Where in any other community, the fees that are being collected by the waste hauler cover the cost of ultimate disposal rather than it transiting through a transfer station.
Commercial waste. They're not
No, it's for residential too. If I hire Ruane to pick up my trash, and I pay them X dollars a month to do that, it goes to the transfer station. Right. In any other community, if I hire a waste hauler to pick up my trash, residential trash, it does not go to the transfer station. It goes directly to the incinerating facility in Millbury or out of town, because the X dollars a month that I'm paying cover the cost of disposal. It doesn't transit via the transfer station. That's a very unique arrangement that we have. And that's a reason why we have higher tonnage per household than other towns do, because all the tonnage in town is coming to the transfer station rather than all the tonnage that's being picked up by commercial waste haulers is going out of town.
Right.
And it's why I think an important reason, there are a number of reasons, but an important reason why our costs per household are so high relative to other towns, because again, the taxpayers are paying the cost of transportation and disposal, whereas in any other community, the fees that a waste hauler is collecting
I
are
bring
covering.
my own trash.
Well,
I'm not
I do
paying
too.
anything. I'm not paying anything.
Right.
So,
Same.
so we would have to then, if we decided to do that for residential, we would then have to be paying to have our residential waste taken away.
I didn't follow that.
No, you would still be allowed to bring it to the transfer station yourself. It's
Sure.
just that if you were to hire a separate hauler to take it from your home, that would be a different situation.
Right.
That would be considered commercial waste then?
No, it's
Not
no.
hauler?
no. I think we're getting a little bit sidetracked because we're talking about how is the hauling business operated as opposed to simply
Relevant,
what is
because of besides the streams.
Yeah, I mean, to me, part of the complication is the fact that many of the commercial business owners are also town residents here,
Right,
right?
right.
And so,
As are the farms.
Laura Robbins is a resident here.
Yes,
I mean, it's Unity Farm and Sweet Meadow and the Dowsons, of course, they're all also residents.
Yes.
And it's not just the big businesses, it's also like the smaller businesses. Like there was, I forget his name, but a couple meetings ago he was here, and he's got the financial planning office across from CL Frosty, and it's like, so he for example, Sean Hogan, yeah. So, he was saying that, oh yeah, I mean, the amount of waste he generates is like one trash bag of mostly paper per week. And it's like, okay, well, if we were to ban commercial, then he could probably still bring that himself personally to the transfer station.
Yeah.
It just makes his life slightly more annoying, And so to me, it's like that's the thing, is that the amount of hit that banning commercial would have is some amount, and then the amount of added sort of annoyance that it would cause for many of the resident / business owners in town would be an amount. And I don't know that the one makes it worth the other, right? Because it's probably overall a relatively small amount. And all we have to do is figure out, well, what is an appropriate way to track and charge for the additional tonnage being generated by commercial facilities over whatever we consider to be a reasonable weekly amount of residential waste, right? So it's like, Paul, for example, well, I don't want to single you out because you're here, so we'll pick a different Unity Farm, for example, right? And so every week they're going to be generating a certain amount of waste, right? They live in town, but it's like, chances are those humans that live there would generate a smaller amount of waste, a reasonable amount of waste. And maybe because of the fact that they are operating a farm sanctuary, they're generating a greater amount of waste than just two people living in a house would generate, right? And so we would need to figure out, okay, well, what do we consider to be a reasonable weekly amount of residential waste generated by household? And any amount that's greater than that really doesn't even matter if it's commercial or agricultural or just some household that just really goes through a lot of trash, right? If you're just generating more than your fair share of trash, you got to pay a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
And so that's going to be if you show up every week with a pickup truck full of 10, kitchen bags full of trash, it's like, yeah, you're going to have to pay a little bit more than your average resident for that, And so we just have to figure out what's the threshold, how are we tracking it, and how much do we charge, right? And so those will all be downstream decisions.
Yeah, okay.
And we don't have to worry about, did this come from a commercial entity, an agricultural entity, a residential entity, right? We can figure that out later, right? But it's just a matter of upfront, are we going to say, you know what, let's just ban all this stuff or not?
Well, construction waste is in a category by itself. And, exactly what the definition of construction waste gets a little tricky when it's an individual homeowner, tearing down a room or something. But that is construction waste. That still is construction waste. If it's a pickup truck full of stuff, it's construction waste.
Yeah.
So I think at least between that and all the rest, we can start by making a distinction. Do you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know.
And construction waste.
Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to make a vote about commercial?
Well, I'm talking about construction.
Yeah. Let's keep construction as a separate category. I just want to focus on commercial, agricultural, residential.
Okay.
Because I don't want to keep getting off on a tangent about construction waste and how we're going to manage this and that. I can get a vote that says yes or no on construction waste, then that's like commercial waste. And that's like the first actual step forward that we will have made.
Okay, so your question, if I'm paraphrasing, is should we allow commercial waste?
Correct. And before we take a vote, there's several hands up, and I will call on them before we take any kind of a vote. But I just kind of want to see if the five of us are in a position where we feel comfortable taking a vote on that narrow question.
Well, you've described it as if the commercial waste is really just kind of household waste plus extra household waste.
No, think about restaurant or another business, the restaurants in town or other businesses in town that would be generating, where it's not sort of ambiguous of is this household or not, but it's clear that this is a commercial enterprise and the volume of waste would be much greater than what a house
Right.
would be
Okay.
producing.
So, what's the vote here?
Well, no one's made a motion yet. I'm still just kind of getting a temperature here to see if we're even ready to
Well, we
take a
said
vote.
two things that make it hard for me to vote.
Yeah.
One of which is we have very few businesses in town. So some ways, if we make it more expensive for them to be in town, they may not choose to be in town. And the second is they're also many, not all residents of town. Some of the commercial
Yeah.
waste generators are also residents of town. So I feel that makes it harder. I can't just vote on construction, commercial waste.
Jeff, I think the trade-off is, we have an arrangement in town with not just that we allow commercial waste, but the way we allow commercial waste
No,
again, with
I
one thing that burdens taxpayers with, very high costs. So
Yeah.
the trade-off is leave things the way they are because a lot of people find it convenient, but ask the taxpayers to shoulder that burden, or say entities that are generating a lot of waste in town, as Steve said, should pay something more to cover the
But that's
costs
not
of
what he
disposing
asked.
that waste.
He asked, should we ban commercial waste? That's what you're asking.
That's right. Because I do believe that if we continue to allow it, then we will subsequently have to make the decision, all right, now how do we track and charge for the commercial waste that is being generated that is, presumably a much greater volume than would be generated by residential.
And there, I think the working group would come up with a concrete proposal, which we might like or might not like.
Right, well,
But, a concrete proposal of,
Yeah.
for this quantity, for example, for a business in town, if they have a 6-yard dumpster that's empty twice a week,
Yeah.
you have a pretty good idea of how much trash that is and what the disposal costs are. And so, generate an appropriate fee. But until you get to Steve's threshold question, it's not really worth the effort to think through how would you do that.
Okay.
I have a question about, if a commercial enterprise has enough waste to fill a dumpster, do we want that going? Can our transfer station handle?
Well,
It's handling
dumpsters full?
It is now.
It's handling it right now.
It is now.
Yeah.
But it's very expensive.
Yeah.
It's costing the town a lot of money.
Yeah, if we ban commercial, it would reduce the tonnage.
Probably by, 10-15%.
Yeah,
Right.
it's debatable it's debatable how much it would be, right? But so there would be an amount, and the goal would be that either we simply ban it and then we reduce the tonnage, or we say we continue to allow it and we do our best, the best that we can to figure out what is that extra tonnage, what are we paying to have that hauled away, and let's assign that cost to the businesses.
It's tough to get those data. And I would just like to see the policies of other towns.
Mostly the policy is they don't allow
They don't allow commercial waste.
Right.
There are a handful of towns that do, but they are bigger and they have scales. And so when somebody comes in somebody comes in, it gets weighed, but we're not set up to do that. So smaller towns our size mostly ban it. But as Steve said, sentiment from the things we heard, didn't seem to be to do that. So then it's more, well, maybe we could set up a fee schedule
And to be perfectly honest, I'm not overly concerned about businesses like the Heritage and whatnot, right? They're generating an amount, and you could open a restaurant in Holliston or Medfield or Natick or whatever. You have to get rid of your waste. It's a well-established business out there to do it, right? And I put zero. I don't buy at all the argument that, well, if you make it more expensive for Laura Robbins to operate the Heritage, she's going to shut it down and move out of town. It's like, no, she'll figure out what is the most cost-effective way to get rid of her waste, and it'll probably be very similar to what you would do if the restaurant was in Natick or in Dover or whatever, right? It would be fine.
But then
I'm more concerned about the small businesses that, again, it's very convenient for them right now because most of them probably live in town and they also have a small business, and it's just very easy to just have Wayne take everything for them,
Which way are you arguing, Steve? I can't tell.
Well, yeah. That's because I'm a good chair. Because I figured out that you guys are split, so I'm kind of staying on the fence a little bit. I'm just trying to I'm trying to kind of like highlight the pros and cons of the decision.
But the
one way or
cost,
the other.
I see the cost is a key component, because if we decide to say charge commercial fees, or allow commercial waste at a large fee, that's probably gonna be the same cost to that business person as if they just paid a outside vendor
Well,
to take it out.
I mean, they're already paying, Ruane based on the size of their dumpster.
Yeah, so.
And it might be, more or less that if Ruane is charging competitive prices, it's probably the same as if they hire some other company to haul their waste.
Right, and so why not just ban it? Then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's what I think.
They're already gonna be paying a fee, no matter whether they're paying Sherborn and dumping it in Sherborn, or paying some other firm and dumping it at the ultimate destination. It seems like it's better not having a middleman have to go right to the ultimate destination.
Yeah, but I mean that's where you start getting. I mean, when you do drive through town, you've got a bunch of smaller operations.
I know.
You've got the physical therapy place. You've got Roses. You've got various lawyers and insurance and financial advisors. And I don't even know who's in all of those little office buildings, right? And so do they all now have to find? I don't know if they are all. How many of them are getting picked up by Ruane? But it's like, are you now going to force them all to find a different vendor to pick up their trash?
Well, I can tell you that as a lawyer, it would take me about 1.5 years to fill up a dumpster for my lawyer trash. So I don't think that's
yeah. So that's why I don't think that the net effect would be huge, so long as we were properly tracking the large amounts, the dumpster level ones, and charging.
Do you want to hear from folks?
Yeah, I will. It's just that it seemed like the five of us were still deep in the middle of discussion.
I would prefer that we finish the conversation before we get its participation.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like that's why I am less concerned about the businesses that are generating a large amount of waste, because they can find somebody else to take their waste.
If we banned it.
If we banned it, yeah. I am more concerned about the smaller businesses where there is a convenience factor.
Laura Robbins even said that, I can find an alternative, I can hire another company. Just please
tell me what the rules
tell me what the rules are and give me a long lead time so that I have some time to make adjustments and figure it out, rather than, next week.
That's why it's the answer, should we ban commercial waste? Because it's really degrees of commercial waste.
I mean, other towns.
I read everything you submitted multiple times, but you just asked us a question, should we ban commercial waste?
Yeah.
That's the question. Okay, well, it includes the lawyer who's filling it up once every month, and it includes the Sherborn Heritage. So I don't know that you can answer, should we ban commercial waste, if you're including all those in that definition.
What do other small towns do? They ban commercial waste.
Yeah.
They have small businesses just like us.
Transfer station.
And they're still going.
So let me say a couple of things here. First, Jeff correctly articulated in the form of questions the reasons why this board has allowed commercial waste. The commercial waste was allowed because we're dealing with residents who could bring their trash to the dump themselves. So the sense of the prior discussions at the board level said, why is it that they have to pay more if they hire a trash hauler, but don't have to pay, they bring it themselves? We're just telling them they gotta fill up their cars with trash and bring it to the dump, so we're gonna have more people there, more traffic and all of that. Didn't seem to make any sense. Again, we're dealing with residents. And the other reason why we allow commercial waste is because we've actually had difficulty finding commercial enterprises to be successful in this town. And having empty storefronts, like we have one now, two that I can think of, it's not a good look for the town to have that empty space. And if you talk to the business people in the town, and I guess some of us have done that, they complain all the time about how hard it is to do business here. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Transfer station is not the one that they mentioned off the top of their head. But I think the sense was, let's encourage people to open these small little places. And we haven't had any big businesses in Sherborn, and I'm not sure if we really want to have like a Roach Brothers with 20 acres of parking. And you're doing a different kind of community, a different level of trash. We are dealing with small businesses. There aren't any big businesses in the town. And so we allowed it to happen. I don't think at the time we allowed it to happen, we knew that it was going to drive up costs and all these other things. And then we never had the discussion about adding extra charges to it. I'm not opposed to that. But I want to explain to you why we are in the situation that we're in.
I think you should give a chance to the public to,
Yeah, I will.
at some point, to do it, even so that you guys don't go endlessly, and we might have ideas that are useful to you.
I will.
And so
I
going
will.
on endlessly with people waiting feels inappropriate.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks,
We're
Mark.
gonna go with Vicky, then Sean, then Nora, then Michael. And can I ask each of you to try to keep your comments to 2 minutes?
Thank you. I'm Vicki Rellis, 9 Peckham Hill Road. So I have a couple answers for you. One, in my new capacity is recyclable. First of all, there's the Northeast Waste Management Officials Association found that all of the tons managed in all of the states, New England states, 23% goes to landfill, 26% goes to region. And what they're saying is the tipping fees are the highest in the nation at $80 a ton against 62, and they're not going to go lower. They said to prepare, each town should prepare to be paying more. So the dollars that are in there now are going to be more every year going forward. That's one thing. The second thing, oversight currently is not good. If we start letting and not having succinct, distinguished information given to the people that are in charge of that and that make sure that they do it, then a lot of this stuff will probably be eliminated. The oversight is a problem. The second thing is one answer to what you're talking about is pay as you throw. A lot of towns are doing pay as you throw and bags, and you have a colored bag for the amount of trash you have as a resident. We actually get points, recycle points. We get money back from the state for that. Pay as you throw. If we are in part of that program, which we aren't now, as a recycle person, we get a lot of money for that from the state. So we would be reimbursed, but people would have to pay. Now we can have them pay whatever we want. The point is, it would start distinguishing residential trash, or it would distinguish, why don't we give it to the small businesses? Let the small businesses use a purple bag or a pink bag or whatever color. So we know that only a lawyer has one pink bag full of trash, they can go throw it in there. But if they have 5 pink bags of trash and other stuff, well, that's a problem. Or they have food waste, then that's a problem. So that could be the answer to what you're dealing with right now. I think it's a simple answer. It's not hard to enforce. Just get colored bags and give them to the businesses. And if they're residents, give them to the businesses and let them put it in the trash. So that answer is kind of what you're dealing with here. Or we could do a pay-as-you-throw for the whole town and give them all, say for $5, they get 10 bags. So that's an option to think about the next one. The swap shop, there are.
Let's not talk about the swap shop.
But there's state guidance for the swap shop, and there's also state guidance for construction. But a lot of the stuff that people throw in the bins is not allowed by the state. The DEP has strict rules about what goes in and strict rules about what they can do. So that has to be looked up as well. So that's the thing. And then, I really need to say that you're looking at 6 figures here. And I, as one, do not want to pay more money for other people's stuff. I mean, there's ways around this without making people, residents suffer. And if that's a big concern, I get it, and I agree with you, don't make residents suffer. But there are ways around this without having that happen. So just be aware that it's not pennies we're talking about. We're talking about substantial dollars that every budget maker in this town is always asked to get rid of their budget because we want to save money. And this is not being done. So that's my piece. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Sean, I don't know why you're third in the list now, but I know you were first for a long time. So you go, then Nora, then Michael.
Yeah, couple things. I raised my hand so long ago, I don't even remember what the conversation was about, but that was 45 minutes of the most confusing conversation I've ever listened to. And don't take offense to that, but if you guys think you're ready to vote, you have no idea what you're voting on. So I understand the details of this probably better than the five of you. I think the best you could do is try to give some direction to the working group. The five of you can't agree on something right now to go banning something. That would be ridiculous. You could probably try to come up with what the working group would suggest as charges for things. What we really need, and I think I initially raised my hand on this, is actually define what you think commercial waste is. Because there's a lot of dumpsters in town that, some places would consider commercial waste are completely residential. So you need to define what you want that to be and how you want to handle that. And again, it's nice to talk about what other towns do, but we didn't do what other towns did the past 20 years. So we have a system right now that you could turn completely on its head and cost a lot of people a lot of money because of the way that we have chosen to get to this point. So you could just ban all sorts of things. But the infrastructure that we built, albeit a private infrastructure through the vendor, but we built it. We allowed it to be built, would be turned on its head by saying this is banned, that's banned, that's banned. Because as it is, the same trucks, in reality are mixing our commercial waste. They don't pick up Pine Hill, but they pick up all the municipal buildings the same time they're picking up residential waste. The same time they're picking up some of the commercial waste. Is Paul's farm commercial or residential? Is Doutz's commercial or residential? Is CNL, obviously CNL Frosty's is. So you haven't done a good job defining that. You sure as heck can't just ban it and expect people to come up with a way. Yeah, everyone could they could all go hire wind waste to pick it up, and that's fine. And the tonnage will go away and the pricing will go away. But I don't think that's what your intent is. I don't think that's where you're going. The entire time, people were getting confused, mostly Marion, with construction debris. That needs to be a completely separate topic, and that absolutely should be handled on its own and how we do it. Not because we want to handle contractors' construction, but people in Sherborn have things that need to go to the transfer station. If you don't believe me, ask the fire chief what went on today, because we just put a fire out with construction debris. You don't want people, and I'm sure Michael Lesser would agree, if you don't allow construction debris or what you might consider construction debris to the transfer station as legitimate waste, and you can charge for it, and you should, if you don't allow it, it's going to go in the wetlands and it's going to be lit on fire. That's a fact. So you need to handle it, and you need to figure out how to do it, and not just start talking about voting to ban things. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Nora.
Okay, Sean, I agree with you. I don't think you're ready to vote. I don't think you have the right information. I have a resident. I'm a resident, but I also have 5 Washington Street. Most of the trash that you're talking about is paper trash, so that doesn't even factor into the tonnage, okay? If I were to open up, which I'm not, I've said this before, a Starbucks, and I was either to hire the in-town person or an out-of-town person, it would be probably similar, I don't know. But what if I were to go, that we have people, and I'm sorry I'm talking really fast, but we're also not discussing some agriculture that goes, quite quite frequently, practically every day to the station. So we're not just talking about the hauler, but we're also talking about, people that go, landscape trucks every day. And those are farms, landscaper, like that should be, we are auditing what's getting dumped in the transfer station into those bins. So I think, when you talk about the small business, I'm one of them. I own the building. It's mostly paper trash, which like hardly is anything. And I have to say, I don't think you're ready to vote. I've been to more than three transfer stations. Lincoln is in all of the ones that are the similar size as ours. None of them in this state allows commercial trash. Now, construction, they'll charge. And I have that all on. I'm happy to do a presentation that is pretty concise on that slide deck that I've sent to some of you, and definitely to the working group or the people in charge of the working group, with photos and every single piece of what their PDF is for their rules and regs on transfer stations. I would implore you to really look at those and read them. There's a lot of information on those three towns, which are all larger than ours, that are open. We don't even need to talk about the days of the week open, but we're spending an exorbitant amount of money on that. And yeah, Sean's right that like a lot of them have construction, they handle it by pickup truck, half a truck, pickup truck, $100. But I don't think you're ready to vote, to be honest. I'm happy to do a presentation that will answer a lot of the questions instead of going on, like Sean said, 45 minutes talking about trash in, Mr. Durensis' place, which is clearly then household. But then you have larger farms that have a lot of debris. I've witnessed it myself, that are throwing out tons of stuff that's not household waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
Michael Lesser, 54 Forest Street. I guess I have one question first before I make my points. Are we having any issues with the capacity of the transfer station in the short run? With the medium
No.
term?
No.
Okay.
No, this is entirely a budget question, really.
Okay, just wanted to check on that. And the budget question we're talking about on the order of $100,000 or $150,000?
Unclear, but yes, probably.
No, I was just trying to, I don't want to.
It's not $20,000 and it's not $500,000.
I just want to say if you have 2,000 customers or households and you have $100,000, you're talking about $50 a household. If I do the math right. And so I don't want us to go nuts over talking about this uneven penalty on people or burden, because we're not talking about a lot of money per household. Unlike some other people feel differently, though. The other thing is that Rowan services, hopefully they're priced less than other ones that are basically picking up and bringing it to another depot. I believe that people can make the choice, but if you're a household and you want Rowan to pick it up and bring it to the town station, to the transfer station, that's fine. We're all paying that cost for the transfer station amount, however it gets there, whether it gets there through Rowan, from a household perspective, whether it gets there through Rowan or you bring it yourself. I don't see that that's much of an issue, since we're all sharing the cost of the transfer, and those people have a right to get stuff in the transfer in the shared cost pool anyway. I think that food waste hopefully is all dealt with appropriately, because restaurants and others can't supposedly have to keep that segregated anyway. And I assume that's not going there. I'd like to think landscape waste is not going there, but that's maybe a monitoring issue than a policy issue. And then I would say that, right. And if you feel like you want to give direction to your working committee, you could say, you're not going to ban something, but you want to, it's like you want to basically say something about certain wastes will have fees based on their volume. And you want the working group to say, fine, come up with some set of fees. This idea of I disagree with you to some extent, Steve, about how your order is. Doesn't have to be, we have to decide whether we're going to ban it or not, as opposed to whether we're going to include it with an appropriate set of fees and maybe a maximum as to beyond a certain amount, you can't go use that. And see whether there's ways to do it that way, that you don't have to make a decision of ban, not ban, as opposed to, we'll allow it up to a certain amount and with fees beyond for certain kind of things. and ask them for that kind of information. And so this, I think it's a little arbitrary to sort of make it a ban, no ban kind of thing, because I think you could ban volumes. By volume, if something has a certain size, that you can't use the transfer station. But maybe if the transfer station has enough capacity, then we can charge something appropriately if it's doable. I don't know how, if you have practicality issues that I haven't looked into. But so maybe you can just vote on the idea that you want things that you want some people to pay an appropriate price. The idea of bags and things like that, it's a lot of plastic bags. I mean, I do think it gives an incentive for people to not waste, throw away some stuff. I have
All
thoughts,
right.
and I'll
Thank
leave it
you.
at that.
Thanks. To address a couple of your points, I mean, yes, if you break down any $150,000 per household, it's not that much. But I mean, we're talking, the reason why we're in this situation is because of the threat of an override next year. And I mean, you know as well as anybody what happens if you are $2,000 over guidance with advisory, right? I mean, you get a lot of scrutiny. I mean, imagine if any other budget in town, I mean, other than schools, because that's a gigantic budget, was $100,000 or $150,000 over what it ought to be, right? And just purely because there is excess tonnage that isn't being accounted for or paid for. It's essentially being paid for by the taxpayers. So that's really the main question, is that if you take any single amount and then divide it by 1,500 households, yeah, it's a small amount, but it all adds up, right? And so that's why we're here.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean to belabor that part of it. I just want to say when people are talking about it's a crisis and everything else, that I don't want to get into all this crisis.
Yeah, I'm not considering this a crisis, but it is. But we need to set a policy, right? So,
but yeah, I agree.
It needs to be an informed policy.
Yeah, that's the least of my issues, if any.
Mr. Chair, can I respond to that for a minute?
Please.
Because you made a statement, and I'm the budget maker on that. There, by no means is the transfer station $100,000 to $150,000 over budget. So that's what you just indicated, and that's not the case.
Sean, I'm not saying that it's over. I'm not saying it's over budget. I'm saying that let us say that we were to evaluate how the fire department or the police department was operating and determine that actually this could be $150,000 lower than it is based on how other towns are operating. Or, I mean, we look at the schools all the time, and we look at various things that the school budget could be lower because they could do it this way or that way, right? That's what we're talking about, right? The potential to lower one of the budgets in town by $100,000 and $150,000, right? So that's what we're talking about, and that's why I don't really want to say let's divide that by 1,500 households and how much is that
I'm
per
sorry
household?
I brought it up. That wasn't my point. I'm just saying when people talk crisis, you clearly need to do something about this. I'm sorry I even brought it up that way.
Yeah, no, but so that's ultimately we need to come up with a policy, right? And it needs to be informed. And so that's why we're a little bit running around in circles right now. Because part of the challenge is that the good data are somewhat lacking, and we can't wait for perfect data. We just have to make a decision on what the policy ought to be from a more theoretical standpoint. I mean, my vision is we make a decision on the policy and we look at what an annualized or 3-year average of tonnage is before and after the policy change to make a decision on whether the policy was working. And actually, I shouldn't say tonnage, right? Because maybe the tonnage stays the same and the policy is simply do a better job of tracking and charging for the excess tonnage that's being generated beyond whatever we consider to be a normal amount of weekly residential waste, right? And so then those extra fees would then go towards reducing the operating cost of the transfer station, right? So really, we should be looking at what is the operating cost of the transfer station before and after the policy, right? So the people who really want perfect data before we make that decision, we'll never make a decision if that's what we're waiting for, you know?
you want to get Vicky in?
This will help a little bit, I think. Plimpton, the closest structural match to us, which is 3,000, their drop-off transfer station faces a deficit. Rather than double the sticker price, the town went to pay-as-you-throw, $65 a year plus $1.25 and 250 bags. I'm not saying we should do this, but the result, the trash fell from 640 tons in 2022 to 336 tons, cut roughly in half. The town went from a deficit to breaking even, saving about $65,000 a year. A household putting out one small bag a week pays $130 annually, which the highway superintendent noted was $350 less than the doubling the sticker price would have cost them. Seniors who generate little trash were among the most positive. Illegal dumping did not materialize. So I will just leave you with that. There's a lot of information out there that will help make decisions.
Sean, your hand is up again.
Yeah, just to be clear, I don't understand what you're trying to say, but just to be clear, so everyone understands, the budget for FY27, the entire budget for disposal of household trash is $100,000. That's it. The entire budget. That's what goes to Win Waste. 100,000. So I'm not sure where you get
But Sean, that's not the whole cost of the transfer station. This is about the,
That's
the
tipping
full.
fee, Sean. You've
Right.
also got hauling, and you got a vendor that runs the transfer station.
Right. There are a lot of other
It's
costs.
more than double that amount.
But if you think you can knock 150,000 out of a $100,000 budget,
It's
plus
not.
hauling, I'm not. You're misleading the public by far. I'm
You're
sorry.
misleading the public. That's not the entire budget.
Sean, I think people are talking about so the comparisons I've done have been the all-in cost of running the transfer station, paying the tipping fees and the hauling fees that you referred to, the vendor contract, and everything together. And to come back to Michael's point, if you compare us to Carlisle, we pay about $100 more per household than Carlisle does for the whole package of waste removal in town.
And Sean, in March, it was $9,500 and that was 123 tons. In April, June, it was 133 tons. So it's more than 100,000 a year.
Yep. So so this discussion has gone in all sorts of different directions. And my concern would be that we don't make any progress and that we kind of get stuck where we are. So I had a little bit of a sense from everything people said that there would be interest in the working group putting together let's call it a more concrete proposal of what might a fee structure look like and what categories of waste, would that fee structure be associated with, and that might be, perhaps that would be a helpful next step given what I heard from everybody.
So if I could respond to that, first, I would support that, number one. But number two, I think Jeff was making an important point, and from a lawyer, I would second that the definitions are really important.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we're working on getting a affordable housing project built. It's going to be rental. And I can make the legal case that the 120 people who are living there, that's all commercial because it's a rental building.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If we exclude commercial waste, those 120 people are going to be dumping it on my farm and other places in town. I mean, what are they going to do with all that trash?
That's why I made the suggestion that I did. I didn't say anything about banning. I said, let's figure out a sensible fee
The work
structure.
group needs to work not only on numbers, but on definitions.
This is very helpful because we need your guidance. We're happy to provide and put together anything you'd like, but without some guidance, we're going to be overwhelming you with information as you've already been overwhelmed, and not making any headway. So please just give some structure of a request to the working group so we can come back to you with the proposal. If it is, and I think Steve was trying to do this by way of, I don't think he was suggesting you ban commercial waste.
No, I'm trying to.
That is an
narrow it
option.
down.
If you would have made that step and say, no, we don't want to ban commercial waste because that doesn't seem to be your consensus, but we would like to do X. It starts leading us somewhere to make some progress. So, if you could leave with at least some guidance back to the working group, we could help you then make some more progress. What information do you need on the big topics?
Right. That's why I don't want to tell the working group, give us all of the options that span the entire spectrum of how solid waste could possibly be handled by any town. It's too broad. You know?
I was starting with, again, having a sense that people don't want to ban things, but more want to define and have a fee structure, that maybe that's something the working group could work on if
I just want to add definitions to that kind of.
Yeah, and definitions within the commercial.
Not sure you're entirely comfortable with that.
But I would
No,
say,
I think that's fine. Honestly, I was trying to fish to get a consensus from the five of us that no, we don't want to be banning things. We just need better definitions and fee structures to track what's actually happening. That's where I was trying to get to. But
Jeremy,
Yes,
did you want guidance more specific than that, or do you think that is?
If you would like to, if you want to say, more or less say, you're going to entertain commercial waste, but you want some structure around how you're going to do it.
How we define it and what the fees would be.
That you would like to entertain some fees. I've heard earlier about the pay as you throw. That is a whole other analysis.
Right.
If you want to analyze pay as you throw, that's a whole other analysis.
Yeah, no,
That's some of your policy.
I don't want to do that right now.
I would put pay as you throw as another category entirely. And there are vendors out there that would happily do an analysis for you for free if you want that. But totally separate conversation from operating.
I think the residents would revolt.
My read would be that pay as you throw is that pay as you throw is not something the town would want to do. Is my read.
Yeah. If you would like us to come back with some options for how to deal with commercial waste in a way that doesn't ban it entirely, we could do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. But I also would really like to see a policy of some other town that's reasonably sized like Sherborn.
Oh, I think he's already working on that. He already has a draft of that.
So we've gathered all those policies. We forwarded many to you.
Okay.
They've been in prior select board packets. Prior discussions you've had, you've liked the town of Lincoln's as a template.
I think the problem is that he can't give us, here is a town that might be a model if we haven't actually even told the working group, because that's a model that we want to go towards.
Lincoln does not allow.
Right. Lincoln's made a whole set of choices that are probably different than the choices we'd want to make. So Jeremy can't just say, here's.
I've highlighted a bunch of things in that. Sherbornized it, but highlighted a bunch of decision points that you need to make that we talked about in the intro to this conversation. Commercial waste, yes or no?
Right.
Those other things. But you've seen other policies. I've provided them. I can provide you many others, but and as the table that we've done, the surveys, you're unique. So if you're looking for a sample that allows commercial waste in the same way you do, there isn't
one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of my point.
Yeah.
There are other towns whose transfer stations are working pretty well.
Certainly.
And they seem to be affordable.
Lincoln,
but
as a well-run.
But here's the thing, Marion, and I'm just gonna put this out there now. I think that many people would probably agree. Certainly, I think there are some people who are in the room now or on the Zoom that would wholeheartedly agree that if we were to, if this was a computer simulation and we just wiped everything out and just rebuilt Sherborn as a new computer simulation and built how do we handle solid waste from the ground up, we would not build it the way that it's currently handled. It would not even be close to this, probably, right? But like Sean said, we have an infrastructure in place, we have processes in place, we have habits, we have 1,500 households that are dealing with their solid waste a particular way, right? And so I don't want to basically say, well, if I was building this from scratch, this is not how I would do it. So let's just throw it all out and then rebuild it from scratch right now.
Yeah,
It would
yeah,
be
get
so
it.
incredibly disruptive. And there's what, 4,500 people that live in this town, and maybe 100 of them are paying any attention to this whatsoever. But probably 3,000 of them would suddenly discover that, oh, you know what you've been doing here for the past 2 years, 10 years, 20 years? Throw that out the window. You're gonna have to figure out
I
totally
get
what
it, I get it.
they would
Okay.
off with our heads,
Yeah.
right? So that's why it isn't just let's figure out in a vacuum what is the perfect way to handle solid waste for Sherborn, and let's build that right now. We can't do that.
Right.
We're saying this is what we have right now. It is imperfect. Let's vaguely try to figure out where is the imperfection and how can we improve upon that.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be perfect. And it's not going to be perfect.
Right.
And the people who are looking for perfection, you are going to be very disappointed, and I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
But we need to do something that is an improvement on what we have now.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to move
I
towards.
get it.
Okay.
So I'm
Okay.
in agreement with
Can you see
Dan's.
me?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see your hand again. Michael, go ahead.
Steve,
Michael
Okay.
Less, 54 Forest. I'd like to make two suggestions. One is whether for the next meeting and for people in general, can you lay out a simple table of what our annual costs are for that the town absorbs by whether it's the operation of the place there, the tipping fees, just in 3 or 4 major categories, so that we are understanding what is the cost of that we're talking about, trying to improve on. So
We can
understand the different.
simplify the simple operating budget that is approved at town meeting.
Is it isolated by the transfer station, all the stuff there? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then, fine.
Yeah, it's there.
Nice if some of this stuff you could put on the town website even, but I guess for others, because it's hard to comment in the abstract here, and I'm not.
But it's on the town
sitting on
website.
committees.
Yes.
But
We put
whatever,
it in the
it would be nice to
package.
know, because we've been throwing these numbers around that I don't quite understand, even when Dan's talking about the big envelope. I mean, the Rowan hauling part is separate. I don't want to deal with, I don't think that should be part of it. It's really the operations of the transfer station and the tipping fees. It would seem like the 2 major categories, but okay, I guess I'll have to go research that. The other thing is, when you're doing your definitions, this whole issue, whether a less perfect option is that you spend less time on the definitions by types as opposed to by volumes, because I think I get a sense that people are willing to let all sorts of smaller volume stuff go through no matter what it is. And that whether the focus of this next work by the working group is more on how to differentiate larger uses. And that's where we want to see if we can come up with a way of identifying it and charging a price for it, rather than.
Michael,
Yeah.
just to clarify, when I was talking about Ruane, the town pays Ruane about $115,000 to operate the transfer station in a contract. And so I was including that because that's a cost that all
that I
taxpayers
would agree
bear
with that.
to operate the transfer station. Other towns have DPW run it. We have a contract with with an independent vendor, but that's what I was including in my all-in number, because that's a cost that the taxpayers
I
bear.
agree with you. I mean, it would be interesting to know, and I'm sure you've done it, of for how much tonnage goes through there of different types, how that 115 compares
We have
to
the total
everybody
volume, the
else's.
different types we do not have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Price is high for
I think
fine or good.
been a productive conversation.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. So
okay.
we're obviously
Nice.
not going to vote on anything tonight. I believe that, Jeremy, do you have a decent idea of what the working group should be working on? I don't know that I have a decent idea, because I don't know that there is.
That's what I was trying to say before, that I think Dan was almost there with what Jeremy should do. And if Jeremy understood what Dan was saying, do you have enough or do you need more?
I certainly have a basic understanding, yes. So I'm getting the sense that you would like to understand some options that you may have to to continue accepting the commercial waste that you do, but to track it and have some fee structure associated with it. So we can focus on that.
Yeah.
For your next meeting.
Okay.
And incidentally, I like the idea that Michael Lesser just said, that rather than spending a lot of time on enforcing and looking at bags to see whether, is this one type or another, small volume, why not base this commercial based on a threshold that if you got, I think right now it's like 2 barrels of.
That's for construction debris.
Okay, but something like that.
Yep.
If it's 2 barrels or something like that, that's fine. But if you come with 2 dump trucks, that's not fine.
Yep.
And so what is the threshold there that it's worth spending the money on enforcement and inspections and all of that stuff?
Okay, I think that should wrap it up for this. Great.
I'll second.
We got it all figured out now.
Yep, we're done.
That was one of the bigger fails of my tenure as the select board chair, I think. All right, let's see. Next is.
Thanks, Vicky.
Woo! We're still going, aren't we? Review and consideration of draft select board goals.
So I was all fine with them, and then Dan sent me something new today, which I didn't read.
Well, I have copies if anybody wants a copy of the new thing. I mean, all I did is
I like the highlighted version.
we had a conversation at our last meeting where Jeff had some suggestions of a bit more specificity and a little more detail, and really didn't much change the substance here. It really was just adding the kind of detail that Jeff and others had suggested.
No, this was super helpful. One thing I think I would add, is it okay if I add?
Yeah, please.
In the financial planning, we should refer to the capital onsite insight report. We had that whole presentation where they're basically doing infrastructure and building life cycle management and identifying all the future capital costs for each building. It's actually, we learned that from the schools. The schools hired onsite insight before we hired them. So I think the schools are actually manage it pretty well, but the capital budgeting, maybe it falls under financial planning. That's a database tool that allows us to have a 5-year view, but it's based on them going in the attic of town hall and seeing that the installation is done.
So under the second bullet in financial,
Yeah.
the second sub bullet, it mentions improving capital planning. Could add one more bullet about onsite insight. Sure.
But the town and the schools both use that firm and have a database of life cycle planning for every capital building in town. So let's see. I had a few other notes. Let's see here. I mean, some of them, I guess I struggle a little bit still, like, is to successfully hire the finance director, town accountant. That's, to me, a little bit more tactical than a board objective. You know what I mean? That's not.
I mean, this is intended to be kind of a to-do list for the coming year.
Yeah, that's where I'm struggling.
This is not meant to be like a strategy document. It's meant to be
board objectives is the title.
Well,
I don't think that's
town government board objectives.
Well, okay. So
I mean, Jeff,
partly a to-do list.
Do you want to do a round of edits on this?
Well,
or send me some specific.
Where I'm struggling is if it's an objective or if it's a to-do list. That's actually the good. If we want it to be both, then
I mean, this was meant to be to sort of organize our thinking. This was not meant to be a big strategic effort. I'm not inclined to turn this into, a big strategic discussion. I mean, we could do that, But
Well,
that
but
would be
it's-
a very different, that would be a very different
Trying to say, what I'm
conversation.
saying here is this is a hodgepodge of tactical things and strategic things.
It's things that need to get done in the coming year.
Okay.
So if I could, I'm perfectly happy to vote to adopt these because number one, it takes work to prepare this. And I appreciate the fact that a member of the sport put a lot of time and energy into doing it. Number two, everything here that I can see is stuff that we ought to get done. And it's good to have those in one place so that we can keep track of them. So whether it's a to-do list or whether it's a lofty goal, it's useful. So why not adopt it?
It means in a year from now, we have something to look back at.
Well, because
How we do.
a lot of times the lofty goals are ways of structuring the tactical things. In other words, so they're, I think I'll just abstain on this one also. I find this to be a hodgepodge of very, very tactical things and very visionary things. And I'm not finding it useful, but maybe it's just me.
I mean, as I said, it was meant to write down things that we need to do. So in a year's time, we can look back and sort of see, did we get done the things that we said we were going to do, or did other things come and intervene and, displace some of these, or did we not get anything done that we thought we needed to do?
And Dan, just a question. Isn't this something that we can change and modify at any time? Of course. So if Jeff came in with source.
That's actually the problem with it. That's exactly the problem. We don't want to change it. If we have a series of what we call board objectives for 26, 27, we shouldn't be changing them.
Why?
We should be working on implementing them.
Well, if Pine Hill School blew up after we adopted this, do you think it would be improper to say, get Pine Hill School up and running as an amended agenda?
Well, I don't think I'm getting my point across.
Yeah,
There's
I mean,
a
I guess
difference-
I think part of the thing too, Jeff, is that there's a little bit of the, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. I think this is good enough. Like, you have to keep in mind that we only meet twice a month. We have 24 meetings in a year. Sometimes we drop one or two. This is round 3. We've already spent 3 of our 24 meetings talking about it.
Yeah, but successful completion of the History Center is done. Successful completion of the tennis court and pickleball courts is all done except painting. Successful completion of Laurel Fields is up and running. They've launched it already. I don't think that's an objective. Those are done.
But that's because we're already a month or two into this fiscal year.
Okay. Just to prove it.
Right? If we spend 6 months coming up with this document, then half of the year will have gone through, and then you could hopefully point to half of the things and be like, we've already done half of these things.
I on other subjects tonight, I just am not on the same wavelength.
All right. Well,
It's okay. I'll support whatever you want to produce.
all right. I move to adopt the town government and select board objectives as drafted by Dan.
And this is the one that's the yellow one.
The one with the highlights, yeah.
Just ask Jeff a question. Is there something that you can suggest to this on your own time?
No, I
That
don't.
would
I think
fix
this is a hodgepodge of tactical things and strategic things, and they're not linked. That's what I think.
Yeah, I would say
I wouldn't disagree with anything that's written here. I just don't like the. It's all right.
yeah. I would say in the absence of an offer on your part to draft
Yes,
a different document,
understood.
let us adopt this one.
Okay, that's
instead.
fine. I'll
All right. I've
favor.
moved to adopt it.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? All right. It's unanimous.
You could probably report Barry in favor, I think.
Okay. 14, consideration of draft chapter land procedure.
So since you saw the original draft that was Sherbornized based on the town of Wenham, I've offered it out to all the various land use boards and committees for input. Also had received comments back Friday, not received any input back from those boards, but they have been given an opportunity. But the chair of the Board of Assessors did offer input. Your new director of assessment offered input, and town council offered input. which has all been incorporated to the draft that's currently in your packet. I also formatted it to be more, with letterhead and so forth. The substance is essentially the same as what you've seen, but it's been improved by input from assessing folks and town council.
Yeah, I like it.
It's ready for your.
I thought it was very good.
Yeah,
I looked at it, it was good legally.
Yeah, I read through it, thought it was very good.
I'm a little bit like, why haven't we always been doing this?
That's right. Good work. That's right.
Talking about this is already full.
That's why it's good we're doing it.
Yeah. All right. We need to adopt it, right? So I'll entertain a motion.
Don't move.
Can I ask a question before we vote?
Yeah.
Is there, because this sounds terrific, but is there a way to identify these properties sort of strategically? Instead of having them sort of opportunistically pop up? In other words,
That's the nature of the beast with chapter land. This procedure is to help you
yes,
deal with and react to external things that then bring up your right of first.
but maybe we
There's
can,
no way for you to force that on.
no, you could anticipate where this might apply in town.
I think that's where you
Yeah.
reinvigorated your land acquisition committee.
Yeah, okay.
Who would be trying to keep an eye on what are properties in chapter land that might potentially.
Mary and I did that. We mapped
Yeah, well,
every property over 30 acres, and then we did every property from 20 to 30.
that would be really helpful.
And you'll note in the policy that land acquisition committee is actually referenced.
Yeah.
They have a specific part in the procedures.
Yeah, but it definitely is land
Maybe we'll give
acquisition,
them
but
some more.
I don't think it's been an active committee in quite a while. I mean, Frank Jenkins really drove it. But the databases are there.
All right, so move to adopt the what is it called? Chapter land procedures.
And I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Aye, great.
Thank you.
Oh my God, consent agenda. Second, all in favor?
Wait, this an error of some kind.
There's an error. Shoot.
We have some of these permits that we're granting, like the one,
Where are you?
You talk about the liquor licenses, Paul?
yes, there's a permit here for 1-day liquor license, blah, 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 for September 26, 2026. But it says,
It says September 29.
yeah, some of the
No.
dates don't.
I think Jeannie has fixed that.
They did.
The last one, this is the 19th Silverwood Farms.
There
Did
is
they
one,
just-
there are two for Silverwood Farm and there's one for the townhouse.
Yep.
And what are the correct dates?
The correct date for the townhouse is August 15th. And then the one for Silverwood Farm for the Native Community Farm, that is September 26th. And the other one, I believe, is September 19th.
Okay, that's what the agenda says, so.
License.
Just the paperwork,
Oh, the license.
but that's fine.
Okay,
So move to approve the consent agenda.
And the
with
agenda.
Dates that she just said.
all right.
Yep.
Second, all in favor? Okay. Select board reports. We got none. All right, town administrator updates.
Sure. Dave Welch wanted to note that, and you already talked a little bit about, during Farm Pond and the Snappers, but they finished their season with a 10-0 undefeated record.
Oh, boy.
Apparently that is they haven't done that.
Here's,
Yeah, 50 years, so.
yeah, they
Very
really did
successful.
well.
So why not invite them in here for a little show and tell? A little recognition.
And then just the other update, I just want to let you know, there's 3 projects out to bid, or capital acquisitions. One is the CAMA system, the computer system, advanced appraisal system is out to bid with proposals back mid-September. That has been informed by the director of assessing, so offer some input in a short stay here. So we get that proposal out.
And that's for the software.
That's for the software upgrade for your assessing department. And we have a bid out for the transfer station electric and recycling compactors out on the street, coming back in September as well. And the last is the exterior improvements to town hall. That bids out on the street as well, with bids coming back in September for the work done this fall.
Great. All right. Yes, Paul.
Did I make my motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
The Red Sox already lost, so it was too late.
How can they lose? They were doing so well. Come on.
I need a second.
All right, I'll second.
I've been watching.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Adjourn.
Oh my God.